Welcome to LaTB, the only podcast that comes with a free Bandits bonus.
Card delivery included.
LaTB, where MMA and UFC get silly. This is the LaTB podcast.
Welcome back, episode 242 here at LaTB. You're going to be here with me, E, or Emmanuel, and Cheney. Cheney, please let us know what we're going to get into today, because it's going to be a good one.
First, we are going to recap UFC 244 and find out who the baddest motherfucker is. And if you don't know, you are living under a rock, and I'm glad you're finally with us. Then we're going to chat a little bit about the Fight Pick Championships,
Ooh.
which I'm eating my words a little bit.
We take the licking and keep on sticking. What's up?
Well, I should have. We'll get into it later. Then we'll talk about Twitterverse and MMA gossip. And finally, while you are all here, we are going to give you our fight picks and prediction for UFC Moscow, Zabit versus Kattar.
Breakdown. That's going to be a hell of a breakdown. But you know, we always got to get through this. The pay-per-view was over the weekend. We were in New York. We told you guys to watch out about that commission. We specifically said, it's a bit of a shitty commission. There's weird stuff. And oh boy, did it come to fruition. 244 stacked pay-per-view. It was exciting, but there was controversy. The night started out with Julio Arce coming in against...
Before we got into there, so the weigh-ins.
The weigh-ins, sorry. I am jumping the gun a little bit too much. We had weigh-ins. We had the whole weed debacle with Nate Diaz. He ended up coming through, but then we ended up having...
Weed debacle?
He popped for tainted supplement. That got cleared the week before.
Okay, yeah.
And then we had Till late breaking on our last episode that his visa was having issues. He was missing open workouts. He ended up getting those issues figured out because guess what? Hey, Mr. President ended up pulling a couple little strings in there and got that paperwork done. He got Till there on time. People were worried about the wait. What do you feel about these political figures playing with our sport the way they are?
We got to see Till versus Gastelum. Me likey, Mr. President, you just made welterweight great again. Is it welterweight? Is welterweight the 185? I don't think it is. That's the 170.
No, that's 170.
Yeah. What is it? What's 185?
Middleweight.
Middleweight. Made middleweight great again. That's MAGA. That's Mama. Calm down, just kidding.
So,
but I'm glad it happened, and I saw Till on an interview, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so humbled. The president helped me.
I'm back. So, Till ended up making weight, looking all sorts of muscled up at the weigh-ins. Actually, we had Jennifer Maia, who we'll touch on, missed weight again habitually, and Calvin Gastelum pulling out a little bit of elbow room, moving an elbow all the way around. It was unreal. If you didn't see this, you're living under a rock. Gastelum using the DC trick, but keeping his hands off of the towel, using a little lean on me coach action here. 2 pounds underweight with the seconds to go before the weigh-in shuts down.
Seconds to go, and I tweeted out like some BS about Kelvin needs to get, back in gear and get back to 170.
100%.
And I've just watched, I've had a Twitter war go on my page, not just with me, but other people and stuff. And somebody reposted, I wish I had it in front of me, a picture of him back at like UFC 183 at 170 when he had like a perfect weigh-in and how bodied up he was. Oh my God.
Murderer.
Oh my God.
But hey, you gotta let go of those tacos and tamales if you're gonna be doing that. And KG can't do that. He plays with that Fahrenheit. Woo!
Yeah.
So, Kelvin definitely has growing to do. He's still only 27 years old.
He's a baby still.
He's still absolutely young man, but he's using old school dog tricks in here. This elbow getting crafty. DC approved.
Yeah, that's almost better than DC's obvious towel.
Well, it's
got
on the
past,
same level because he's like, hey, look at my hands. I'm not touching the towel. Old elbow on the chest.
It was magic. He was like, the hands, pay attention to the hands. Nothing up my sleeve.
Why would he get naked with a towel if he was going to be 2 pounds underweight?
It doesn't even make sense.
No sense.
And he has
at
no
all.
sweat on him. So it wasn't even like he was back trying to burn it. He was like zero sweat. Look how dry his hair is.
The interesting thing, though, that Till said, even though this whole incident went down, was that he didn't blame Calvin because he's like, yeah, if I didn't know I was getting a visa, I would have been eating too. I'd have been eating everything I could too.
Oh, that's kind of fair.
And it's a great point.
That is so kind of fair. The fight almost got canceled, but if it were anyone but Calvin Gastelum, I would let it go. But Calvin is habitual.
Habitual, which we just actually had jumping in a bit of Twitterverse stuff. 13 fighters get dropped. Manny Bermudez being one of them, another habitual weight misser.
Kind of glad about that.
I agree. I'm okay with that.
If you can't show up for 2 different weight classes and this keeps happening to you, and then to miss weight and still lose, which is kind of the Gastelum too. I almost think it's karma, especially it goes down to the decision like that. Like, yeek. That's the point you lose. That's the extra. If it was on the fence about being a split decision, maybe that's the emotional pullback of, well, you missed weight. So, I don't know. But
interesting.
10 fighters, go.
Again, it was an interesting way in. The commission coming in afterwards, retroactively saying, hey, you're going to owe Darren Till X amount of money because you did ended up... But... it's really the commission's fault. If you didn't catch him in the act, you can't come back and be like, hey, we looked at tape and you pulled one over on us. You can't do that. And it's like, no, suckers, you guys had the 2 hours. You didn't figure it out. He got one on you. Suck it up. Don't be a bunch of babies. And I
feel about it on most calls. Like, after the fact, if you make it through, you just made it through. It's the same. If you got away with an eye poke in a fight, if you got away with a dick kick, but sometimes you might get a point from that dick kick. Like, that's where it's, I think after the fact, it's a little too late. And but it does suck. It totally sucks.
What you do is you make sure your commission understands what weigh-ins are next time, and you learn a freaking lesson. You understand. You don't be a bunch of jack-offs in there and just don't understand what's happening. This is their job, is to make weight and find ways around stuff. It's your job to make sure everyone's there. That's why you get paid, to make sure everyone follows the rules and you don't know the damn rules. Unbelievable. So, what a way to start off the pay-per-view. Then we end up going 24 hours later. We ended up starting off the entire night with Hakeem Dawodu coming in over Julio Arce. I switched my pick. After weigh-ins, I thought Arce was going to come in and do what he needed to in there. It was 30-27, 29-28 Dawodu. He just landed more strikes, was able to keep it where he wanted to. Dawodu's biggest attribute I saw with this fight was afterwards he was meaner than he was in the entire fight. He never pulled the trigger the entire fight, and then he interviews with Joe Rogan and is super butthurt, and it's like, wow. You could have pulled the trigger in there a little bit more. Julio Arce isn't a walkthrough at all whatsoever, so I still like both guys going forward, but I didn't like how me and Hakeem's like, I don't want to be the opener anymore. On one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year?
Maybe of all time. Maybe of all time. Who
like,
knows?
how dare you? I'd be like, yeah, I'm okay with that.
I totally agree. I also... I don't think either guy is a walkthrough fight. I like both of where they're going, but neither is ever going to make a title run of what I'm looking at. They're kind of stunted. Like, these are the fights I feel like both of them will be having.
Top 10ers, potentially, but that'll be about it.
And Hakeem, you cannot tell me you're bigger than any other names on this card.
Maybe Jennifer Maia.
Oh, yeah, that could have been... The only reason they did that, though, is, like, I think you said it last episode, if they're going to need to build a contender for the Bullet, they can't have him be the first fight of the night. And be like, she wouldn't fight in the first fight of the night to the main event. Well, it's kind of silly.
And Chukagian's the number 1 ranked, so it's like she can't.
Yes.
So, either way, we'll get there, but definitely guys to keep an eye on. Then we went to 170 pounds, where most of the betting community, as I saw it, came in on rem counters. The betting line stayed on Lyman Good's side. On DraftKings, I ended up actually having a little more exposure to Good because I thought he would be able to get the knockdown. I wish I'd put it on my tap and my actual straight-up card, but he played out as far as DraftKings hedged my bets, but I still picked Ren Counter. Those takedowns didn't come in that first round, and all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, this guy can't strike well at all, and those unbelievable shots just kept landing. I mean, Ren Counter, tough as nails, but that third round... it could have been called in a second round, thrown in the towel, and I feel that was a theme throughout the night, potentially. And Ren Counter did not need to take the amount of damage he did. He wasn't coming back from that fight. I thought Good controlled it absolutely everywhere.
Lyman Good looked really good. I don't want to get ahead of myself, though. Really, what this fight, it lets me kind of know what I think of Nardiev now. If Nardiev is going against somebody that just has a minimal wrestling game and any part of his game gets stunted, he turns off. Maybe that ring IQ we see get better because his hands are coming around. But Chance Rencounter, Lyman Good, not only did his cardio look better than it ever looked, but he had no problem stuffing the takedown. I don't know if Good's gotten that much better or if Rencounter was just never that good. That was a tongue twister.
I think Rencounter might be on the lower end the more I'm seeing the one-dimensional, the real one-dimension he is. It's like, all right, he might not go as far as I initially thought, but Good did not pass that smell test. Jeff Novinsky was looking the other way when this guy was weighing in because Good
bodied up.
Unbelievable. I was like, there's no way that guy's 170 pounds. Yeah. There's no fucking way. He's bigger than Joe Rogan.
So we're kind of falling off Rencounter going forward, and Lyman Good's looking better.
Definitely looking better. He did pop, by the way, 2 years ago for something. So I'm just saying, he could be on that good.
Do you think it's EPO? Like, this is the other thing we didn't talk about. Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington
had a press conference.
Press conference that also had Amanda Nunes and GDR, and who were the other two? Max Holloway and Volkanovski.
Yes.
And so for UFC 245, did you hear when anyone talks about why Colby would win the fight, everybody says, oh, well, Usman has no cardio. And then Usman's last fight, everyone's like, whoa, it looks like he fixed his cardio. And then in the press conference, Colby was all EPO. So it's
interesting. If you look back in between the banter as well, it was a fun press conference. We've been super excited about that in general. So
it's
I can't
funny,
wait for that.
Because everyone was calling out Colby for herpes, and because he had like a blemish of some sort on his face, and Jorge Masvidal actually had the same blemish in the opposite spot. Like if they kissed, it would be on that spot. Not to say that at all, but in the exact mirrored spot of Colby, the same blemish, but no one said shit about Game Bread.
Any chance they can get, they're going to be trashing on my boy Colby Covington. So it's going to be...
Wasn't that more interesting than talking about Chukagi and Maya?
We called it to a T. It was going to be... Maya missed weight. I don't give a damn. She says she's missed weight 2 or 3 times now at 125 and refuses to move up. They asked her, are you going to move up? She said, no, I'm not going to go up to 35.
No, I can't.
Well, guess what? You better get on out of here, girl, because... Bermuda's got out of here. They should be like, all right, we can cut the weight there. So, Maya, if you can't make weight, you shouldn't be in there. Chukagian was punching the woman in front of her most of the fight. She still ended up landing more, but it was turned into that 5-punch combination, only land 1 strike, key-eyeing like crazy.
Same. It's deja vu right now to the last, what your breakdown was.
Yeah, exactly. So, Chukagian has to be the number 1 contender for Valentina right now because she is one, but... We'll see where that goes. I'm not too excited to see that.
Both women aren't even half of Valentina. You can almost predict a finish from here.
It's not something I'm excited for, or I'm like, oh, I can't wait to break that down. I'm like, guess what? Valentina wins. Probably by knockout. So throwing that out there, maybe not. Anything left with those ones?
No.
Then we moved on to Jorginho Rosenstruck coming in and defeating Andrei Arlovski TKO round number 1. I mean, Arlovski's chin has been looking good as of 9 fights, but I don't know if it ever really gets better. Rosenstruck's just a next-level fighter, or a next-level striker, comes in with tons of power. You can see it on all his opponents. His little shots hurt them, let alone his lined-up shots. Arlovski could have had the ref step in once or twice beforehand, but he needed to see him fully down. We saw the Pitbull face planted into the mat there. Arlovski still beats guys that are entering the UFC. He's a gatekeeper for the top 15, but again, he's never going to see those championship days at all.
I agree, but Rosenstruck, not only is a scary man, I should have switched immediately. I think I even told you about it. Oh my God, he's bodied up. Like any of the guys that come in, his body looked better from his last fight than Derek Lewis's body looked from his last fight. And I should have immediately changed to Rosenstruck. And everything you said, I totally agree with about Arlovski. And that was a perfect call because you had it KO round 1. But also, did you see that he just took a fight?
With Alistair Overeem.
Oh my God.
That is a fun one. But I feel like I can break that down as much as I broke down under Arlovski.
It's the exact same.
Right? Well,
yes.
Overeem is by far a better striker. He likes that intercepting knee to throw, and he
but
can
also
actually throw jabs.
also chinnier.
But chinnier, so it takes less. And like I'm saying, Rosenstruck hits with his half-ass shots, let alone his full power. So I could see Overeem getting hurt and then just not waking up for a little while in there. So definitely a fun heavyweight prospect where heavyweight's got some additions all of a sudden. And it's like, okay, this is getting fun.
I think the UFC is doing a great job with every division. Remember how dead the 185 used to be? And now it's like thicker than a sticker. 170's good. 50, I mean, all of them. Even 125. Even the women's 125, there's actually some names in there that are like buzzing about that you're kind of like, oh, Macy Barber's dangerous. Oh, look, or Cynthia Cavillo, her
all
PVZ. There's
names.
like, I don't know. I like all the divisions. And Rosenstruck, I was dead wrong on. Just clean. I don't think he got hit one time.
No, I know. It was all one-sided traffic for sure for Rosenstruck in that fight. Then we move on to 185 pounds where Ed Movement Shabazian came in against Brad Tavares, the hunkiest of the hunks themselves. This was quick work as well. Ended up
My
setting
boyfriend, Shabazian.
Ended up setting a
One
left
day
kick.
our boyfriends are going to meet.
They just did.
No, Shabazian Nardiev.
Oh.
That's the real. Or are they 170, 185?
170, 185.
Still one day. They're both so young.
I was going to say they just did. They just did.
Tavares. I switched off Tavares.
Good call.
Yes,
because
it
I ended
was.
up going Shabazian decision. He set up, it was that right first. He was throwing a 1-2 right, hurt Tavares, and then he set it up with a left that was more gauging, and he hid that kick right over it. And Brad Tavares was out on his feet, went down, ate some hammer fists, but there was no more.
He almost
needed no
pawed
more.
at his face, and
Right.
the kick came right behind it. It was
Yep,
kind of great.
He just blocked the view. That
Yeah,
was not
so smart.
to punch. That was to actually block that line of sight. Beautiful setup there. Shabazian looking like the real deal in there. Tavares.
Didn't he look bigger than he's ever looked, too? Like,
Yeah,
we're watching
more
him
filled
grow.
out, but he still didn't look muscular where I'm like, okay,
No,
now he's getting his man body.
Yeah.
Then he's going to put on muscle.
Yeah.
And then he's going to be a 205 smashing machine.
Yeah, we're going to watch him go all the way up. He's so dangerous in the division. So
Speaking
dangerous.
of the smashing machine, did you see Winna Chicken Dinner getting a little extra money in your pocket with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, talking about being the smashing machine documentary movie
God.
instead of being a PR member, which I think UFC should have put him on. Come on, UFC.
Here's my, do you smell what The Rock is cooking? And then everybody's so excited. The audience, I got such a great announcement to make. Are you guys excited? We're so excited. I'm going to be somebody that you guys barely care about. And if you just got into the sport in the last 10 years, you have no fucking idea who this guy is. I'm going to play the smashing machine, Mark Kerr. And everyone's like, you heard it.
Is he fighting now? Like, the people did not know. They're not hardcores like us who's been watching since the VHS
You have.
days.
I had to actually watch a Mark Kerr documentary since then.
Oh, you did watch it, though?
Yeah.
Good. And how sad is it?
It's super sad. He's not a really bad guy. There's a lot he blames his wife for. They have a real weird codependent
They
relationship.
both like to party.
They both like to party. They have a weird codependent relationship, and I thought that was odd. How much of the excuses he just was like, it's her fault. But she seemed like an asshole too. They both seem kind of like assholes, like addicts.
The thing that does, he's just the juiciest man alive back in the Pride days, Mark Kerr. Look at the story.
I actually think The Rock is way bigger than him, though.
Really? I thought the other way. I thought the exact other.
Yeah, when you were saying that The Rock needs the body up for it, I'm like, I feel like The Rock probably has like 30 pounds on him and more muscle.
I just remember him because I was watching him in my youth and just being like, that guy looks like a fucking juiced up monster. Like Jeff Dominski wasn't even born back then. He was just like, woo! Unbelievable the amount of steroids Mark Kerr was.
Oh, yeah.
Really interesting.
And
just
brutal fights. Like, I was watching all
there's no happy ending, so I wonder where they go with the movie. It's not going to be like Foxcatcher.
I do that happy ending. But I do think it's so odd. It's like, in my opinion, it's the first time The Rock is ready to take on something that is a real
serious
acting hard thing where we might have to see The Rock cry and lose his mind, mad.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the most grimy, realistic version of The Rock we've ever seen.
It's going to be, I'm excited for it.
I will totally take it. What's the other 100 for?
I cannot remember, and we didn't label it. I'm sure we'll have to go back and get into it.
On the tape, one of our fans, if you remember.
So, getting back to the pay-per-view, we had Shane Burgos coming in as the biggest favorite of the night against Makwan Amirkhan, on DraftKings at least. He ended up getting it done in the third round. I ended up picking this one perfectly as well because, again, Amirkhan doesn't traditionally not had a gas tank. He still hasn't gotten it better. And this was one where the corner and the ref could have turned in the towel in that second round, third round, where Amir Khan was taking body shots and taking 15, 20 seconds to stand up. The ref should have said, hey, can you fight? Yes or no? Nope. You're stand up or you're out. If he doesn't stand up, fight's over. Like, you're not winning this fight and you're not in it.
Don't you think they maybe need desperately over at SPG a cardio person? Doesn't it seem to be a regular thing we see in everyone from this camp? They all have cardio issues.
I would think so, but hey, those Instagram shots.
It's a shame, too, because I like a lot of what Amir Khani has to offer.
All the potential in the world.
Damn, it really makes me upset. He's talented, and I even feel like at 145, the way he looks in there, he might be able to go to 135. But it's not going to help his cardio. So for a guy that already has cardio problems, what a shame for him. But yeah, I had Burgos too. Amir
Khan's going to be able to finish a lot of up-and-comers, but when he gets deeper into the water, these Shane Burgos type level guys that are going to make a run for the title soon, Amir Khan's just not there. He's a pretty face to fill a spot, but I don't see title contender until he gets on that EPO. Something. Needs to start doing something because, again, habitually has been a gasser. And you could see it after that first round pretty dramatically. Then we ended up going to the headlining preliminary card fight of the night for the pay-per-view. We had Corey Anderson coming in over Johnny Walker. First round TKO. Corey Anderson, nobody had that. Absolutely nobody. If people had it, it was late third or decision because of the wrestling. Nobody thought it was going to be that right hand other than Corey Anderson. He said they watched it on tape. They knew he ate that right hand. Little controversial on the stoppage because Johnny Walker literally, it was a standing TKO, never went fully down, but was definitely dazed and confused in there. I think it was them hips, Corey Anderson dancing circles around him at the announcement of the fight.
Yeah, the announcement of the win.
Exactly. He was making sure those hips were moving. But him then coming out full heel.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. It really made me like... I was so happy for him. And then I didn't like him at all. It was like, yeah, whatever, Corey Anderson.
And then that JBJ call out that he did at that promotion event looks extra cringy. And you're like, oh, Corey Anderson. Kind of a douchebag. And of course he's going to be like, well, no one knows. That's what you got to do. I guess so. But you could just knock out Johnny Walker and people are like, okay. But the interesting thing in this as well is on top of that douchiness and heeliness, he's like, hey, I just beat out Johnny Walker who hasn't beat any contender yet. John Jones or I quit. And everyone's like, all right, later.
See you later, Corey. No one will know.
Yeah, like you can't come off of Johnny Walker, even though it's a knockout and good for you. You've never done that before, but that's not John Jones level.
I like the Dominic Reyes fight better anyway.
So did
then
Dana.
Corey Anderson.
Yes.
Like, if John Bones Jones, for all intents and purposes, it shouldn't be too hard of a fight. He should be healed up quick before fight week. Corey Anderson can lay back and wait till fight week in summer next year, or early. When does that happen?
They fly him out.
Yeah.
Something like that, but
I don't know. I understand what Corey Anderson's saying. He's on like a 4-fight win streak. That was the most exciting of his fights, but it was just still against kind of an up-and-comer and Johnny Walker, and everyone was like, well, Johnny Walker was going to get the fight, and I'm like, no, I still would have said Dominic Reyes, in my opinion.
I agree with that. Walker still needs a couple other guys in there.
Oh, but I don't know how I feel about Johnny Walker anymore. I did not like, even when you pointed out the scar on his shoulder from the surgery, and I felt like immediately like he's going to lose this fight.
So this one definitely having all sorts of twists and turns in it. Anderson coming out and actually apologizing for his antics. Does that take it away? Because I had to look for the apology. I didn't come out and see it right away, but I feel like most Le Casuals do not do the due diligence we do here and look that stuff up, so it kind of goes on deaf ears. And
I didn't know he apologized. But I'll take the more casual side all day. I didn't know at all.
Yeah.
Like, look, I was still hating.
Well, again, it was bad. He was just definitely a little scorn in there after such a big win. So, live and you learn. Corey Anderson, again, get a top 5 guy this next time around. Johnny Walker, throw him in against anyone, and we'll see where that goes. Then we opened up the pay-per-view with a humongous finish. One of the highlights of the year. We still have a couple pay-per-views left, but this one's going to be on the contenders for knockout of the year. Kevin Lee comes in defeating
And it's also
Gregor
where a
Gillespie.
Fight Pick Championship started.
Oh, sorry.
For anyone who we put everybody else's logos up here. So Cloud9, Grampy back, of course, LaTB, Backlog, Ricky of MMA Marks, separately of MMA Marks.
Is that Ricky Anderson himself? Oh, it is. Okay. Okay.
Fighting with Myself, the Big Pink Machine, Ray's Omoplata Soup, Pure Evil. But of course, once again, let me say it again and say it twice and say it the third time, LaTB. All of a sudden, Michael Keaton's in the room.
So then...
that was the biggest... Because already, I feel like my Fight Pick Championships... if I had to pick a fighter of the night that my Fight Pick Championships represented, I feel like it was Gregor Gillespie.
It was a quick one in their highlight reel finish. 2 minutes, 47 seconds into the fight. Both of these guys were scrapping, trading strikes on the inside, but it was more Gregor Gillespie boxing and Kevin Lee more using MMA and throwing up a kick. Second kick he threw out there caught Gregor with the left kick right on the jaw, and it was right into the fence. You're seeing the graphic now. Gillespie was night-night in there. It was brutal. That'll change your life, especially being undefeated as Gregor Gillespie is. There was only 2-3 people that picked Gillespie as far as the Fight Big Championships, or not Gillespie, Lee, and a lot of bettors actually didn't have Lee as well, and he was a big 2-1 underdog.
You know who did? I know everybody hates this. Brennan Schaub had Kevin Lee. He said the money was too good on him, and the size. If you watched weigh-ins, this was my big, huge tug, which I'm just starting to feel now. If there's too much of a size discrepancy, it is always going toward the bigger guy. Always. And their size discrepancy looked a weight class different. I think this is the right camp. I think TriStar, it's almost like Kevin Lee is what TriStar needed more than maybe both. TriStar, he needed the discipline of TriStar and having that family again after his coach's death. But I think they needed a superstar, which for all intents and purposes is so similar to a GSP.
Kevin Lee has been on those co-headlining events, being the second half of it as well. He can bring drama to a fight. He can sell pay-per-views, but he's still a rough stone. He's still smoothing out his edges, and we're seeing his ability in there when he does put it together. So Kevin Lee's always been a high-level MMA fighter, and he definitely put it out there today. Gillespie's still going to get back on board, hopefully. There's a ton of other people he can beat in there, but he wasn't a finished product by any means whatsoever, so got to take a step back sometimes and be like, hey, that UFC level main event fights do add up. That's the reason we like some of these veterans sometimes, because we're like, they've been there. They know what a pay-per-view card feels like. It's not a big deal. So
I actually thought Gregor was winning the fight until he wasn't. I thought he was winning the entire thing up until then. I would have given him the fight up until that moment that he wasn't winning. So I'm actually nervous about Kevin Lee. I thought he was, hurt a few times. Like, even though that was such a beautiful knockout, I'm not going to be as high. I still have to see where he goes from here. There's a lot of guys, like...
It was a quick
Does
finish.
he get through Al again? Even though I actually think the size, he's grown so much, I actually think he might have that size on Al now, where they wouldn't look the same size. I think he'd look bigger. I don't know.
I'm still going to be watching both guys. Lee's still high-level echelon. Gillespie still not breaking that top 15. Then we end up moving to one of the most controversial fights of the night. We had Derek Lewis with his big old sweaty balls in there coming in against Blagoy Ivanov. 3-round decision. This was as dirty of a split as it gets in there. Derek Lewis coming out himself and saying, I thought I lost that fight.
This is kind of upset me a little because I would have had 25 points. I called this perfect. It was Ivanov or Blagoy by decision. And that's exactly what I had. He won that fight. Not only did he win it by me watching it, I looked up the fight metrics afterwards, and he had more strikes in every single round and 3 takedowns to 1. I just don't get it. So the only thing they gave to Derek Lewis was significant strikes. They called every single one of 37 of his strikes significant.
So 100% significant strikes.
Bullshit.
Garbage.
It's bullshit.
Garbage.
That I just hate that metric. Significant strike doesn't mean shit. Like a knockdown means something, a takedown means something, but otherwise you're just pointing it up. I don't like that significant strike. If you want to do ring aggression or ring control, cool. But that is not a significant... Who's deciding?
What if it were strikes landed, strikes thrown? So that way you can see how many you threw, but then it's regardless of significance.
I think they wanted Derek Lewis to win that fight.
Oh, well, obviously,
like the UFC
in America,
obviously wants him to win it. I just think even anywhere.
Sure.
He's a big star for the UFC. And also, this is the dumb part for me personally, where I'm like, I knew better. Instead of just calling New York a sketchy commission from now on, it's going to be a sketchy boxing commission. And so when you're looking at it, like all of a sudden the takedowns don't matter at all to them. So you have to take those off. They're not really looking at leg kicks all that heavily. So now ring aggression and significant strikes are their 2 metrics that they're going on the most. So for me personally, once it went to a split, I should have known that he lost. But I was so pissed. It was a robbery. It was a robbery.
I was on the Derek Lewis side. I thought he was going to get a KO in there. I was surprised. I thought he lost that fight as well. I usually like even off in there, but something in my gut told me to go with Derek Lewis. But hey, there's someone that case-to-case basis that you're going to have to be, even though he looked better than he ever has, as we were saying before, he looked in better shape. He had cheekbones. He was definitely more muscular,
he took killer
but
body shots and just ate them, which old Derek, he did get hurt. He did get, like, a few times.
But he looked better than he ever has, but still I'm going to be tentative. And Blagoy, as an underdog still in the division, there's money to be made on Ivanov. They're going to put him against other big hitters. And if Derek Lewis ain't knocking you out with the shots, some of them he did land, Blagoy's going to be able to grind out some other of these guys.
I want Derek Lewis versus Greg Hardy.
Everybody wants that. Everybody wants that.
That's the fight I want.
You're not the only one.
That's the fight I want.
Sure.
That's the next fight I want for Derek Lewis. There's nothing else I want to see him do. I don't want to see him fight Ngannou again. There's nothing else that I want to see Derek Lewis do except wait for Greg Hardy.
I agree. I can't wait for that one.
And aren't they both Texas guys? That's a Texas main event right there. That's some extra work, UFC. Maybe everyone wanted the fight, but put it in Texas. I think it wasn't Greg Hardy a Dallas Cowboy.
I believe he was.
I don't know. Just saying.
Just saying.
That's a freebie.
Moving on to 170 pounds, we had Stephen Thompson come in against Vicente Luque, 3-round decision. I switched on the show over to Vicente. You changed my mind. Then I watched weigh-ins and was like, hearing that Vicente specifically was saying he wanted to try to win a point fight against Thompson, and that's the exact thing I said he couldn't do. So as soon as I heard that, I went decision Thompson. I'm glad I switched it. This was a whole 25 on the Fight Pick Championship. This was a heavy hitter for me, but Luque, showing his toughness in there. Stephen Thompson breaking both hands on Luque's face. Luque getting dropped in there couple times.
Yeah, his knuckle was all the way by his wrist.
10-8 round in that second, I believe. So what do we really take away from here other than Luque just not there to be a top fiver yet?
Unfortunately, because of the kind of wars he puts himself in, I don't know if he ever will be. He's still scary, super frightening guy. Stephen Thompson said it was his hardest fight he's ever been in.
That's a
3-round fight with Luque, harder than 2 5-rounds with Woodley, and where he, actually got knocked down. So I thought that was interesting. I've always been a Stephen Wonderboy hater, but because of how much respect I have for Luque, and he just really schooled him everywhere. He ate some killer shots. I feel like Stephen Wonderboy may have won my heart. That fight was amazing, and it was fun to eat my words on that fight. That was such a good...
It was a fun...
It was finally like I got to see the Wonderboy. When I first started watching UFC with like Rory Wonderboy, that's the Wonderboy. It was like the last time I saw him fight like that. And I kind of thought it was over for him. Even though I know Masvidal and Woodley, those were kind of shit fights.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing this made me like, Wonderboy could be a contender for sure. What a scary guy, especially Gosh, how exciting. Imagine Wonderboy at 185 against Adesanya.
I don't think so. I think that Wonderboy looks best when somebody walks forward. And when we see Woodley or these high-level 1 and 2 type contenders, they know the game plan is back up and pick your shots against Wonderboy, which means low output 5-rounders. Instead of someone like Luke is like, I'm going to get in his face and beat him. It's like, no, that doesn't work. It's been proven. And we finally saw someone be like...
Well, I don't know, Pettis.
But Pettis was losing that entire fight until that knockout came out.
I don't know. I think he was winning. I didn't think he was getting spanked at all. If he was losing, it was equally losing. It looked like a rough fight for Wonderboy. That was really weird. It's like something changed from that where he's like, oh, I got to... Getting knocked out, I think, by Pettis, especially on the tail end of not looking so great. Pettis, Luque. That's interesting as fuck. Now, both off a loss.
That's interesting as well. I don't know
and
if
what
Pettis
about
takes
Wonderboy?
that fight. Top 5. I mean, anybody with a ranking behind them because he was, I believe...
Wonderboy Woodley 3?
No, that's not the one. That's not the fight I want to watch at all. A 3-rounder even. That is not it. So... Anybody else in there, give them to him, same as Luque. Then we go to the co-main event at 185 pounds. They made weight. They finally got there. Darren Till coming out and saying that he was looking for excuses to call the fight off literally right before the fight, but ended up going out there.
I was walking out. I was terrified.
I want to buck out.
I was going to fake an injury.
So, the only...
Every fighter needs to say this. We're terrified. We know. We hear it. Everybody tells us that. Like we always mock GSP.
Well,
Brendan, I am terrified.
He's getting praised because supposedly a lot of reporters are like, well, nobody really talks about it. I'm like, there's more than enough.
Yeah,
that say
GSP,
that.
Brendan Schaub. I feel like we've heard a lot of fighters sit down on Joe
Start to
Rogan
be like,
and say like,
scary.
oh my gosh, I'm scary as shit when I'm walking out there. The scariest thing in the world. He's like, I didn't even want to do it when I was walking in.
100%. So this one did come through. It was a decision. 30-27 Till 30-27 Gastelum, 29-28 Till majority decision.
I actually had it the other way, 29-28 Gastelum. I'm going to be real honest.
I was really close. I thought it was 29-28 Gastelum as well. I could have seen myself being a little biased once I looked at fight metric. Till did land a little bit more, but that's a humongous step up. No rank at 85. Came in against the number 4 proven 85er, and I don't say he put on a show because, as we were saying before with the missing weight, Gastelum probably started pigging out, and it wasn't on celery sticks and carrots. It was fucking pizza and tacos and the greasiest shit, so his whole...
I don't think he did at all. I think Gastelum was going to miss weight regardless of Till not getting a visa.
Oh, really?
Gastelum, this is what he
Habitual.
does. This is what he does.
True. So, maybe I'm making excuses
and
where they don't need to be there.
And I actually think the difference, Till's body looked better than it ever had.
Yes.
And it wasn't because it wasn't that he looked flabby at 170, even when he railed out, but he looked more muscular and thick than he ever has.
Till's not ruling out 170 pounds.
I think he should, especially at his age, and I like his fight style against like an Adesanya and guys at the top of this division. It's really interesting to me. Coming in against Gastelum, I mean, you are one fight away from the title shot. Like Gastelum's up there. He's a killer.
You can really only fight guys 2 spots ahead or behind you in that position at 4 now, because he kind of absorbs that 4th or 5th spot. Does Till not?
Yeah,
does he not?
I think so. And I like the Souza, the Yoel, the Costa, the
he hasn't seen any of those
Robert
guys.
Whittaker. I think that's the one Darren Till said, I always knew I was going to have that fight. Me versus Robert Whittaker.
I love the Robert Whittaker fight, but I've also heard people calling out, Jackie Boy Hermanson, and I'm like, I would love that Jack Hermanson fight Till. Love it.
Well, it's a big fight because they could do it over in the UK anywhere. Like, it's a big. I like once I started listing the names of the people, because even if you go through Cannonier, all of them, yeah.
What about Hermanson, Gastelum? Ranked opponent.
I like Hermanson Gastelum, but I heard Gastelum, which I like Shabazian Gastelum. Him off a loss, Shabazian on a climb.
But that's too big of a step up from Matt Tavares, I feel like.
I don't know. Brad Tavares is right there.
I think he's
This is a double loss
14.
for Gastelum.
Yeah.
And I just like the climb. If you lose twice, there's got to be a bigger fall. You can't be fifth now.
Right.
So
it's like 8
I
spots.
feel like Shabazian's just Brad Tavares is the right guy to get a low-ranked top 10 opponent. And at this point, that's Gastelum to me because of the double loss. He's probably like 7. And what a perfect way to build his name. I think that's a main event on like a fight night or a co-main on a pay-per-view. I think that's a great fight. Shabazian is for a hardcore still. But Gastelum's earned his due.
Definitely. So they have many matchups for either one of those guys moving forward. Then we get to the main event with all of the sketchiness that went down. The president came up through for us he actually showed up for the whole pay-per-view, did the president. He showed up from the first fight on the pay-per-view till the end. Most hoity-toity Richie Smitzy guys will only be there for the absolute main event. So president really showing up, and he was second floor when they told him,
We're
"You're gonna
talking
be
to
in the
you,
booth."
Amanda Nunes and Nina. We see you walk in at the co-main. We see
True.
Usman walk in at the co-main.
True. Very, very true. So definitely big ups from the government there, showing all of their love for the UFC, for the main event, why we all came to see the Miami boy himself, the Floridian, come through. Jorge Masvidal against Nate Diaz. Controversial as it gets. Doctor stoppage round number 3. Couldn't come out because doctor said, "Hey, can you see? Well, let's go back into the fight." First round, does it open up with that kick to the face where anybody
10-8.
else... 10-8 round.
10-8 first round. Jorge...
Kicks Diaz
would
in
have
the
finished
face.
most fighters at 170. So the fact that Diaz ate that and then came back in that round at all and even survived it,
Right?
amazing. 10-8, Jorge schools the round. Second round, much of the same.
A lot
Schools the
more.
round.
Could have been a 10-8. 10-9's absolutely fine as well.
It could have been a 10-8, I agree. But 10-9, it depended on how this was going. And you could see, even in a boxing commission, Jorge was making it his fight. Even regardless of what was going on, no one could have taken it from him.
Jorge wasn't getting touched in there. I think there was only 2 or 3 strikes that really landed on Jorge Masvidal with the little scratch under his eye, but it was one-sided traffic in there. Third round comes around. That cuts opened up over the right side of his
No,
eye.
actually, that happened in the second round, and they let it go into the third, fine and dandy.
It just
and it
kept
was
getting
actually,
bigger
if
and
you look
bigger.
at the picture before and after, it looked the exact same. There was no difference at all with it. And actually, if you look at this, where he beat Pettis, there is actually no difference. It's the exact same cut.
It's worse
on
in
the eye.
Pettis' fight, honestly.
Well,
I feel like it's
because
hanging
it's
more.
only 2 months later. If any human in the planet cut themselves like that,
Right.
it's gonna rip open like right there. Like it's
The exact
and
same spot.
look at old scar tissue, same.
Well,
cut.
both of these brothers have had surgery specifically to help minimize scar tissue because they cut so easily. They've already known this. They learned it from boxers back in the day and did it. But as you're saying, that cut reopened back up. It was the same old injury. Diaz said, "Hey, I'm willing to go," but the ref was like, or the doctor came in third round and was like, "Can you see?" He's like, "Yeah, I can see. I'm ready to go." And the doctor's like, "Okay." Turned over to the ref and said, "It's over. Call it." That neurosurgeon has been getting an earful because he was all lavished up. Like, he was a neurosurgeon wearing some Armani goddamn bougie shirt. Did you see what he was wearing?
Yeah, I know. He's been getting hate mail and or hate calls to his office. And
Not
stuff.
only hate calls, his score online has gone plummeted. He's getting 1-star ratings everywhere. They're affecting his business, which I'm not okay with. I don't agree with that. That guy was trying to keep...
Did he do his job bad? Yes.
Yes. But should he get fired from his real job? Because his real job is a neurosurgeon, not a plastic surgeon, which is the UFC or commission's fault to me. Because if you're the commission, you hire maybe both. A neurologist to do the in the eyes, and then an actual plastic
MMA
surgeon.
Fighter as well? Is he a boxer as well? Has he done more of these fights before? Is this his first fight? Like, I just have be careful what you sign up for. Be careful signing up for a Nate Diaz fight. I can't believe we didn't discuss this plastic skin more.
We have in other
skin.
fights.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe we didn't really harp on it, and how close, if anything,
Sure.
that last fight was with this nasty injury.
70 days,
It's
I believe
almost
he said.
naive on my part. Like, I should have thought about that paper thin Diaz skin that gets ruptured like this every fucking time.
It's a common factor for them. Bloody fights in there. But Diaz won't quit. It has to be the corner or somebody else.
Well, it sucks too. By the time you felt the tide start to change in the third. Could Gamebred still have had more of the minutes? Maybe 3? Yeah, but toward the end of that round, it was slowly shifting way. And everyone knows, regardless of what you say, the 4th and 5th round are Diaz's rounds. And so because we've seen him in so many other fights with the same cut above his eye, let it go into the 4th. Let's see what happens here. You can stop it at any time while the fight is actually going on.
What I was actively saying was what you should do, and I've seen refs do in boxing and MMA say, you got 2 more rounds, I'm giving you 1. This is already bad. I'm giving you 1 round to do something, and I'm stopping it after that.
I even like that.
Because then he comes out to try to get the kill, because he knows in his head.
He should have known in his head anyway, which I totally agree. Like,
Sure.
He's been fighting enough. Probably has more fights in there
He's
than
a
anybody
BMF.
else. But also, god damn, could we have gotten Tyson's Fury Vaseline guy? Like, he would have just slopped.
Yeah.
That's like one of the differences of boxing and MMA fighting is like you can't put as much of that shit in there because of the grappling exchanges as well.
Well, you can, because I feel like, was it Derek Lewis came out with a huge glob on his eye, and it's like,
it's a bummer the way that it ended. I don't need, but here's where I'll also disagree with a lot of Diaz fans. Even though I had Diaz, I wanted to see those 4th and 5th rounds because we do all know they're Diaz rounds. And when everyone's like, what would he have really done? I don't know. Let's look at the fucking McGregor fights. What would he have really done? I don't know. Let's look at all his fights. Like us calling him a 4th and 5th. Everybody that had Nate Diaz had him to finish in a 4th or 5th or by decision by eking out the 4th or 5th. So it's like, you should know a little bit, doctor, about the 2 fighters you're going in there with.
I think so.
And if the fight didn't get called in the first, in my opinion, then maybe it shouldn't have got called before this same cut. It looked the same way as it did before. And even after the fight, after it was all stitched up, even the amount of swelling on his eye was not terrible.
He's been there, done that.
Yeah, like it was not terrible at all.
Again, just, you can go back and watch it. I'm sure you have a million times. He's like, I'm ready to go. Fuck the cut. I'm not care. It's not falling off. Like, whatever. So, definitely controversial fight night. The ups and downs, the highs, the lows, the fight pick championship.
It was, yeah, and so I feel like I was robbed in a little emotionally. I was robbed in the fight pick championships. But, but I also think the most BMF thing to have done for Jorge Masvidal, unclipped that belt and dropped it right in the ring and walked out.
Been like, I'm out.
Wouldn't that have been the most BMF? Like, keep your $50,000 belt. Like, keep it. I'm out. Like, right. I don't know.
So do you want to see the rematch?
Not anytime soon. That's what I was going to say. I have no need to see it anytime soon.
What I saw in 3 rounds, I'm like, there's many fights for both guys that are funner than what I just watched, honestly. Even though it was a great fight. Like, move on.
Nate Diaz, he doesn't need to win any more fights. For whatever reason, his name's big enough. He's a star maker. And yes, Jorge Masvidal was a star before Nate. Yes, Conor was a star before Nate. But he puts that flame, he makes him a shooting star. He makes him that star from The More You Know, where it's like, there's something about that name Diaz, so I want to see him do it for other guys. And Nate Diaz, he doesn't need to fight anyone in any division anymore unless they're a fucking name, unless he's a main event. He's of that John
Super
Jones, Conor, Ronda realm where he can just do, super fights only. That's what I want to see for Nate. And frankly, now, because of this fight, Jorge is of that same echelon. And that's what I was going to ask you. What's next for both guys? I don't want to pick Nate because he just needs to heal. I want the scar tissue gone, and I like him taking the 8 months, year off between fights. But Jorge
Masvidal at 170 pounds, welterweight division. I mean, that Colby fight's right around the corner, but Colby's got a title defense or a title implicator on the line. But I love the heat in that one. Leon Scott has got a little extra time. I mean, Leon Edwards.
He's not a BMF. I feel like Jorge's bigger than that.
But because of the, I don't even want to say the saying because it's so outplayed. But because of that altercation in the back where he served up a whole meal, that's a fight that needs to happen.
Speaking of a 3
Leon Edwards.
Did you see the Conor tweet?
No, I did not.
Say it like Conor.
Hey, Burger King.
Is that Darren
Till? Hey, that motherfucker. Could I get a 3-piece soda and a side of chicken box, please? Loads of salt and vinegar, thanks.
So he was calling it out because Jorge was saying in the post-fight presser, like, he don't want me, that little midget. The UFC, I would kill him. I would rearrange his face. Like, he don't want any piece of this while he's eating a folded in half piece of pizza. It was pretty awesome.
Love it. I had 2 pizzas folded in half.
Yeah, he don't want this. And then Connor tweeted out this, and I was actually surprised that, because I wouldn't want any of that smoke.
I don't give a shit about Connor because he's done this so much for every fight card, which I love because Connor understands my people are watching right now. I'm going to tweet right now. He's not tweeting at 2 a.m. on a Friday. He tweets Saturday, 1 a.m., late night type of stuff.
Or it's probably like 6 p.m. in Ireland. I don't know.
He said he's not going back to Ireland because of these allegations that have been coming out. He's like, no more. I'm not coming back here.
So he's staying in the States?
Or just not there. But he's not going back. He's in
Russia like Jonathan Snowden.
Exactly. He's like, I can't go in there because the cuffs are going to be put on and I won't be able to leave.
I know he's out in Vegas. I'm sure he has a couple of pads somewhere.
But with Connor, it's just too much talk. I'm done with the talk.
Even Dana says he's going to be fighting next year before, like...
Until your name's on a fucking board, like Mystic Mac my ass. It's been 2 years. It's like, all right,
Has
even
it
with
been 2 years since the Khabib fight?
Has it not?
I thought it's been a year.
It's been too long for me.
Maybe 2 years, because that's when they got in trouble. And then
and Khabib fought again.
2.5.
And Khabib fought again, but Connor hasn't.
Oh, maybe that was just a year he was suspended. 1.5 years. Oh, but...
It wasn't even that. It was like 6 months or something stupid. But he hasn't fought since then. Khabib has, and he's only fighting once a year. So, yeah, it's been over 2 years. So, fuck it. Who the fuck is that guy? I don't give a fuck. I'm back. So
fair enough. Do you think it's a University of Miami conspiracy that The Rock was there? Like, they knew Jorge was going to win if The Rock was putting it on, right? That's Miami shit all day, right?
I like that conspiracy logic, but he had so many other ties to it. He has that, big movie about Mark Kerr coming out, so I can see.
True.
So, but it was really weird in the press conferences just seeing The Rock, and I was like, for the first time, he looked old to me.
I agree. It was weird watching him walking with the belt. It was borderline cheesy. I don't know how I liked any of it, to be honest. I did not.
It was so close to cringe, but
it was almost like Dana hated it. He's like, I will never fucking wrap a BMF belt around anyone. And
Rock's like, I got it.
Yeah. I got it. So the Fight Pick Championship this week, Clout9 did win. So congratulations to Clout9, and you guys, we try to tweet out stuff, so if you're not following us on Twitter and all those places, there's Clout9, Buddy of MMA Marks, Alpha the Big Pink, Zoltanite, E next to me here, Backlog, who has the best Discord channel, The Juice from Fighting With Myself podcast, yours truly, and I'm also saying I'm in order of the current results, so I'm way down there behind The Juice, but you know who I am above? Ricky Jiu-Jitsu.
And this is the
That's all that
tournament.
matters. As long as I beat Ricky, it's all that matters. Then Grampy back, Dar Smokes and Pure Evil, which is kind of unfair because they're the last 2 guys to close out the 10 in the tournament. So they have not been fighting as much as we have. I feel like Buddy's been in the top every week. Like top 2 every week.
He's definitely gathering the points.
But never with perfect picks. It's weird. Like in the top, but he'll get perfect picks, but he's only getting 5. Like he never has the round or decision or anything, but he's always in the top of how many he's getting right.
A lot of upsets been coming up. Good for him. We're still sticking around in there here at LaTB. We're still making our presence known. Moving up. Green means go. Red means stop. So Zoltanite definitely representing, also known as E.
Green means you're moving up?
Oh, yeah. So,
and I fell. That's what red must mean.
Exactly.
Unless they know my period cycle.
Oh.
That's nasty.
That
Why is it nasty? Why? There's no difference with that and Nate Diaz's cut, and I make it to work every day. Put a tampon in that shit and let's go!
Quality content. Love it. Absolutely love it. So, Fight Picks Championships, putting us all on edge, putting the P in period. It's going to be done. We're going to have another week ahead of us. We're going to go all the way to Moscow. Be sure to check your local listings here. Over in the States, it's going to be a 9 a.m. starter, I believe, maybe 8 in the morning again. be sure to be on that ESPN Plus, BT Sports 2, TSN 1, whatever you're doing out there.
TV guide.
So
We
figure
lap
it
beat.
out.
We lap beat.
But you know what we're here to do. It is always to get into that main event, or into that main card.
Into the card. Period. Of UFC Moscow. Because we mixed that Twitterverse in with the Fight Pick Championships, and we mixed it in with recapping the fight. So it seemed like a long 50 minutes of recap. But now we here.
Now we are here with this 13 card bout that is going to be across the pond into that wilderness. If there's something that we always talk about, it's home cooking in Russia, and the juice is always loose when we go over with those Russian bears. You always be sure you're drinking your own water, come in with your own supply, because weird shit happens in Russia. Fighters always say, that was the worst flights I've ever had in my life. We came in the day of the fight, and there was just weird stuff. I was warming up literally with a toilet and a sink right next to me, like. That is legitimately shit that happens in Russia.
Yeah, we always hear like, the steam room went out in our hotel, or like there is little weird things. You are right.
Things to pay attention, and those narratives always seem to play a role. So things we like to be on. And starting off the 13 card bout, well, I guess the main event has been switched on us a few times. At first it was Volkov versus Dos Santos, ended up switching to Zabit and Kattar, who got moved from Boston. So that's going to be a 3-round main eventer.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. You just taught me something new.
That is something new. It is going to affect my fight pick. And it's really interesting. I like it's that whole... that
Jeremy Stevens.
That's exactly it. Pantera, Jeremy Stevens. So, interesting. But you know how we always do. We start from the bottom to the top. 13 card bout. And it's going to start at 135 pounds. At bantamweight, we have Grigory Povov coming in against Davy Grant. Grant being 8-4, coming off of a 2-fight losing streak. He was able to win one in there. He did he lost to Chris Oldsworth. Beat Chris Oldsworth, lost to Marlon Vera, and then coming off of a Stasiak and Bermudez submissions in there. Davy Grant being 33 from England. SBG Manchester guy, known for his submissions, good takedowns, alright gas tank. Striking has been getting better, but still his weakest attribute by far in there. Against Popov, the 14-3 fighter, he comes in with that Russian wrestling, throws a heavy overhand right, 2-3 punch combo in there, mixes it in with a takedown, and once he gets on top, he'll throw little rapid punches, but more that position over submission type of guy. He tends to have the better gas tank and actually has fairly good submission defense. So Davy Grant's triangle, which is probably his best submission off of his back, I feel like is going to be slipped out of a lot, especially at these lower weights. And I do have Popov having a little bit more power in here. He is, though, the older fighter at 35, and we always say these Russian guys are even older than that.
Yeah.
But as we're saying...
Is Popov Russian?
He is. He's up from Siberia. He's from Urhala Sports, but he's Mongolian, legitimately, like, up where they live in tents still, nomadically, and came into the city and stuff, but... Amazing
they went across the Bering
credentials.
Strait and populated the Americas.
Oh yeah, I think there was a movie 10,000 BC. That's about his family. That's about.
Is that racist?
Is it?
I don't know.
So
who am I to say?
So
I only call out sexist.
That's your lane. Stay in your lane. So I think that this goes to decision. Even though I could see Popov potentially having a finish potential due to strikes. I'm going to probably stay away from this. This is the first fight of the night. There's a lap B rule in general, and the minus 205 favorite is going to be the one I side with. Give me a decision, Povov. Who do you have in this fight?
I love everything you said, even about the stay away. I see it going 29-28 or 30-27, but just more of a close point fight grind, like where we see them lay on each other a lot. I think it gets boring as the fight goes on, and I don't think it's going to be huge strikes, even though Popov is such a heavy favorite. So Popov decision, but a big old stay away.
On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $9,000 even for Popov against Grant $7,200. Average score for Grant on DraftKings, 31 points against Povov's 27 in that loss to Eddie Wineland in a big upset there. But on the tape I watched, Povov should be able to get more, but I don't think he clears that 90 points. So, as we were saying, probably a stay away is going to be the best route in that one. With 13 fights, you have a lot.
Yeah. Why ruin your night on this?
Absolutely. Why ruin the first fight where you're like, oh, I put too much money on that guy that I didn't know enough about. So let them both get multiple more fights in the UFC. So then we move on to bantamweight, 135 pounds for the ladies. We have Jessica Rose Clark coming in against Pani Kazad. Both of these ladies met each other earlier on in their careers. Kazad coming in with an 11-5 record, getting a win in there, getting a loss to Macy Chiasson coming off of the Tough House. Then she ended up getting a win over Avila. No, she just lost to Avila. Who was in between there? She beat Ivana out of the organization.
Ivana Hugginkiss.
Ivana
man.
But then she came back to the UFC, I believe, on short notice and lost to Julia Avila in one of the worst fights I've watched in a long, long time. Both of them were not pulling the trigger. Panini likes wrestle, not the best strikes. Thought they were getting better, but she just hasn't. She doesn't have that next gear. She just stays in first gear, low output, not heavy on strikes, and then her wrestling has a little bit of holes in it. Even though she has the more offensive wrestling, she's easily rolled, and she can just be out transitioned at times, but she can be submitted, but that's most people here. We don't have to worry about that with Rose Clark, who tends to be a striker coming out of Australia. She is 9-5. She's been over at AKA for a while, though. She broke her foot.
It's been a long time, since she's fought.
It has been a long time, and that's because she broke her foot. She's fought multiple times in the UFC. Last coming off of a decision loss to Jessica Ai a year, 4 months ago. Having a 3-fight winning streak before that in there in the UFC. Beating people like PVZ, Beck Rawlings, and who else in there did we have? Either way, Rose Clark tends to keep it striking. Her grappling's got better because she's been at AKA, but her foot's been iffy, low out. But she's a harder striker. She's the better striker here. But I do think she gives up the grappling advantage. Hopefully AKA has done her better. This is going to be a stay away. I have Kazad initially, but she hasn't won yet in the UFC. And it's been really low-scoring fights. I'm switching. I'm going to Rose Clark. This is a dirty-ass split. I don't like it at all. This is a big fat stay away. I'm not going to expose myself anywhere to this fight.
I agree. I'm going with Kazad only because I like my fighter active, and it's been a while since Rose Clark has been in there against Jessica Ai, who we've kind of never seen back. I don't like Pani. I'm going to stay away from this altogether. I don't know if her name's Panties. I don't know if her name's Pani. I would never say that to her face. Kazad decision.
So, on DraftKings, you're going to end up paying for the minus 110 favorite, Rose Clark, 8,200 against Pani Kazad's minus 120. So, the slight favorite betting-wise, 8,000 even on DraftKings. So, a little value as far as betting-wise on Rose Clark. I think that wrestling's probably coming through. Coin flip of a fight as far as the books. Stay away. There is much better spots. One of them being at 155 pounds. We have Alexander Yokolev coming in against Roosevelt Roberts. Roosevelt Roberts being 8-1, being on the wrong side of the PMP, the Plus Money Plus, coming in heavy duty. We had Vince from Help Us Show getting the first dubs, putting the first L on Roosevelt Roberts' career in his last fight in a decision. And it was because of that Gifford fight. Gifford also being one of the 13 fighters that was just released in that group. So Hamthath being another one as well.
Didn't Gifford just kill somebody?
No. Gifford just got killed in Tampa. We saw that freaking ref get freaking called off of the card because he got beat up so bad.
Who
against Davis. Des Green. So that's he looks like Roosevelt Roberts. It's the hair. It is the hair. But Roosevelt Roberts comes in with wrestling, has a guillotine, high elbow guillotine that's really been his money in there. That's how Roosevelt Roberts wins most of his fights. Goes for the guillotine. He'll fully give up guard to roll it over and sink it in there with those long arms, being that 6'1" and gangly in there. The 25-year-old's got a developing jab, but his striking's not up to par. And then his cage work isn't up to par either, because that's what Vince did. Vince put him up against the cage, defended that first guillotine, and after that, Roberts didn't have anything. There was no second submission attempt or even try to get up. It was just succumb to the position. And in this spot, Yokolev can do all of that and some. The 25-9-1 fighter is coming off of a big win to Alex De Silva in a submission guillotine choke 6 months ago. He had lost to Zach Cummings. I
have a question about that. Like,
please.
Was he fighting at 185 or 170, and now he's at 155?
Yokolev was fighting at 170, and he moved down. But because
Zach Cummings went up to 185 just recently. That's why he's at that gut.
Correct. And that was a brutal fight. But Yokolev, the rapper in here, the gangster rapper out of Russia, you can find some fun YouTube videos of him with all sorts of chains. It's pretty interesting. So, Yokolev in here, great wrestling, good gas tank.
He goes by Yokolev.
Yo. What is his nickname in there? The Thunder of the North. So, Yokolev, good gas tank, good guillotine on him as well.
If you're a Yokolev fan, if you follow us at LaTB_MMA on Instagram, you can get yourself a groovy Yokolev design. Probably, I think Roosevelt Roberts too. I think we've done things on both those guys.
Well, I think we have. It's been a while now. We've been at it.
A really long time.
It's been a while now.
We got to dig through the archives, but it's in there.
So definitely, I'm thinking that Yokolev here, striking-wise, gives up a slight advantage, but he has more entries and actually likes to go to the ground and pass, has a much more active ground game than Roosevelt Roberts, and I like the underdog here at plus 140. Give me Yokolev. What am I saying here? To win via decision. I could even see a late round submission, but I think he's the better fighter here. I think Roosevelt Roberts had a hype train beating a lot of guys, but once we saw that guillotine, get countered, it's like, oh, this guy's way beatable, and it's because not that good a gas tank, not that good a striker, just kind of a one-trick pony. Give me the underdog, the first of many. Who do you have in this fight, and why?
I kind of like what you're saying, and for me, the size. I'm going to be heavy watching weigh-ins to see how close they are in discrepancy, because I can't ever recall Yakovlev being chubby at all in any of his fights. So him going down to 155 is a bit worrisome for me. I know these Russian guys will cut their dick off to make weight because they are hardcore. But I got Yakovlev decision just based on the size alone and the active. I guess Vince Pichel was only 4 months ago. I think Vince Pichel, going to decision with Vince Pichel is much like going to decision with Kamaru Usman 3 years and 3 months ago. It's such a different fighter than Kamaru now. I got Yakovlev decision, but I think size and age, I have to, this is my need to watch weigh-in fight, because I could see myself switching to Roosevelt Roberts decision by the time the fight gets here. As
I was saying, some of the travel may play a role, and it's happened many a times to fighters. This is Roosevelt Roberts' first fighting out of the country, of the United States. So this is a hell of a doozy to make a hell of a flight to fly into enemy territory, where maybe he's making 155 because he's got some extra IVs and diuretics to get him down there. We are in Russia.
Yeah.
So just things to be paying attention to. Here on DraftKings, you're going to end up paying for the minus 170 favorite, Roosevelt Roberts, 8,500 against Yokolev, 7,700. Average points for Roberts, 71 points per fight, where Yokolev's is 49, but he does have a couple more losses in the UFC. Again, I like Yokolev. I think I'm going to probably go 20%.
49 points for Yokolev?
49
I like
on
Roberts
average.
Better here. And how much, too? Oh, Roberts is that much of a favorite, 85. Though 85. He ain't worth that.
He's not going to pay that off. So it's Yokolev or nothing right now. So I'm thinking I'm going to go Yokolev about 20%. I'm liking him potentially later in that as that fight goes on. Really saw some issues for Roberts in that.
Do you go all Russian, no Russian?
No, because I am picking against some Russians as we move on. But I like that narrative. I like that saying because, hey, I went to China and picked against every Chinese fighter. How'd that go for me?
Yeah.
How'd that go for me? Woo! So, learn my lesson. One that I hopefully don't have to learn here. We have at 170 pounds, debuting Abu Barak Nurmagomedov coming in against David Zawada. You're welcome. Woo! You don't even know the gymnastics I had to go in my head. I just did the splits and back inside out prolapse Danish, and then we're in.
I'm gonna call you right there because I believe maybe you had to do like a cartwheel back handspring in your head, but Nurmagomedov was just an easy.
That was easy
1,000 times.
First
We've done that 1,000. But to like those strangers at the bar that don't know us or never heard this, they're like, damn, that boy's good with his words.
He knows them fancy names. So it's definitely interesting fight we got here. The 16-5 returning Suwada came into the UFC off of the KSW scene. He ended
His name should be David. Yep, my real last name is Zawada. Because it does not look like it should be him.
True. He came in beating Danny Robertson a split decision a year ago and then has rattled off a 2-fight losing streak to Ji Ling Liang. Who else in there? Oh, did he actually beat... I'm getting mine mixed up here. Danny Robertson, or he lost to Danny Robertson a split decision?
He lost to Jin Liang and Danny Roberts.
Okay. So 2-fight losing streak here. He was easily
he has yet
outsized.
To win in the UFC.
Easily outsized in there. Easily out-wrestled. Zawada has maybe a second gear. 2 and 3 punch combinations, but not really all that fast. Eats a lot of shots, can easily get taken down, and just out-grappled. And against the Nurmagomedov, who's 15-2, coming off of his PFL, he beat Johan Błachowicz, who we had in the UFC, Serbian Steel, I believe. And that was a decision. It looks like it got overturned.
Is he a relation?
They're all cousins. So... I do believe he has a relation, and I do believe it is his cousin, actually. So, here, though, the wrestling doggy fighter, we know what he likes to do in there. Rinse and repeat, take it down, ground and pound. Little better striker than a lot of the other Russians. We did see him against some at-level competition, and he's been pulling through here. I don't see Zawada really coming out with anything that's going to surprise Nurmagomedov in this spot. He is a debut. I do feel like his name is giving him a little extra push, so I do think it's getting a little crazy, but Zawada hasn't done anything yet to show us that he is going to be able to take out this level of opponent. Give me Nurmagomedov. It's a little too steep for me. I think it's going to be a decision, 30-27. If there's a finish, it's going to be for Nurmagomedov. So that's who I'm picking. Give me a decision right now. Who are you picking?
I like everything you said on it. Even the extra hype could be his name value there because we're seeing him as such a moderate favorite. Not that he shouldn't be a favorite, but it may be more like a 185. But yeah, I got Nurmagomedov too, and I don't see him getting those Khabib points, but unless I'm totally wrong, I might have him on like 20%. I think it's a guaranteed win almost.
Out of the two, but you're going to end up paying for one of the biggest favorites of the night at minus 280, 9,300 on DraftKings is Nurmagomedov against Zawad 6,900.
I don't see a finish, but I just also don't see a ton of points. I see him not knowing what to do, how to get up. So I just see him being held down. I think this is kind of a low point scoring fight anyway.
Oh, fight night in general is what you're saying as far as DraftKings? Or just this fight? Just this fight. I agree. 9-3 is going to be pretty steep. I'm going to be super limited, but out of the two, it's only Nurmagomedov that I'm going to have exposure to there. Then we're moving on to a fight of the night contender here. At middleweight, 185 pounds, we have debuting Roman Kipulov coming in against Carl Robertson. Robertson being 8-2, having some tenure in the UFC, beating Ferreira, losing to Ferreira, beating Marshman. Who else did he get it one in there with?
Beat Thurman, lost to Glover, beat Jack Marshman, lost to Ferreira, and then beat Stewart.
Stewart as well in there. The 6'1", 29-year-old from New Jersey has got some great striking in there. Muay Thai credentials, puts a good trap together, has traps that he can set, but has some glaring holes, and that's his ground game. It's how Glover was able to get him out of there, and so was Ferreira via submission. once Robertson starts to slow down, especially in that third, that gas tank does start to wear going into the second round with that amount of power and strikes he puts in. Robertson he's someone that's really dangerous in that first round, and his best moment of the fight is probably midway through that second round, and then right at the beginning of the third, it's like, Robertson might have just given it all up in there. That flight's going to affect him, and coming in against a 28-year-old striker like Roman here, it is a fun matchup because he strikes as well. He's a combat sambo practitioner. I know he has also, I believe, a purple belt that I saw on there on the ground, but the striking of this young man, very Kyokushin karate. He is orthodox, throws a 1-2, but a great jab into a right, hurts a lot of people, and then he throws tons of kicks up, which Robertson does as well. The exchanges, though, for the young man are really scary at times because he usually gets the better of them because he's really quick, but once he gets to that higher level, if somebody counters that movement, he's going to walk into something hard. He could be turning that around. I just loved the tape I was watching. I watched a lot of his fights because I was like, holy shit, this is a real addition to the division. I mean, you got to watch this fight. You guys got to wake up. If you're thinking of sleeping in because it's an early night, do not miss this fight. Could be
it's
fighting
not
an
early night. Doesn't it start at 11 a.m.?
Early morning,
yeah.
I mean. Sorry. But I'm giving it to the debut
on the
round
eastern
3.
of the United States. Make sure you check your listings once again.
Very true. I saw Roman.
Don't you try to blame me.
I saw Roman here go into the 4th and 5th round and have corner stoppages against some at-level competition as well. He's fighting with guys with winning credentials in here. On the ground, he can hold his own. We don't have to worry about with Robertson, but it's just that gas tank on the young man. He's proven it into the 4th and 5th round to have tons of power. So I think Robertson fades later into the fight. I'm going to mix it up because they both have knockout potential. I'm going to go heavier on Roman, probably that 30%, 10% for Robertson because he's got power too. Give me that round number 3, Kaipov. How would you pronounce that last name?
Kaipov. I also have Kopylov. I actually have a decision, and I'm one of the rare few. I won't have Robertson anywhere. I think he just gasses too much for me, and it's almost hand-picked so that this will be a stand-up brawl. I don't think either guy's going to try to take it down, but I do think Carl Robertson just has that little bit of MMA knowledge where he is going to pull on those arms and take off some of that power and also wear on the cardio of Kopylov. But like you were saying, Robertson's cardio isn't great either, so I actually think this is going to get really tediously boring and surprisingly boring come to the third. I'm giving Robertson a little credit here because his wins are not impressive people to me. Like anytime I see Marshman on there, I'm like, oh, that's not even in the UFC. You're not even fighting UFC opponents yet. So Kopylov decision. I do see myself having him in places because I'm just not a huge Robertson fan. But I'm excited about everything that I'm noticing about this kid, and I only watched one fight, not a bunch of tape. But I just wanted to see what his body looked like. That was
he's bodied up.
Yeah,
he's a lifelong martial artist.
Yeah,
he's definitely been doing it. On DraftKings, you're gonna get the debuter minus 125 favorite for 8,300 for Roman Kopylov coming in against Carl Robertson 7,900 plus minus 105. There's a coin flip as far as the betting lines. Give me Roman in there. Again, that 30%, 10% going to be hedging my bets as far as DraftKings with Robertson 79. But I could even see myself getting more exposure at 8-3 because he really opens up a lot of my cards at 8-3. That's right in the middle, and I see if he gets a win, I likely see a finish. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking it might be above that. I don't think it'll be
low outcome. I think even a 60-point minimum.
For 8-3?
Yeah.
That's worth it right there.
It's right there where it needs to be to not ruin your cards for the money.
Definitely. Moving on to 155 pounds. We have returning Rustam Khabilov coming in against Sergey Kondusko. Kondusko being 27-5, coming off of a 3-fight winning streak in the UFC, winning against Rusman Akhman, known as the hairiest man in the UFC. That was his biggest win to date. He does have some at-level competition. The 27-year-old is serviceable everywhere. Serviceable ground game. Striking's all right. Doesn't have tons of power. Serviceable gas tank. It's just he looks very journeyman-esque. There's nothing that stuck out in any of his tape. Even when I went back and watched that Rustam fight, it was a decision against the guy that I feel most people should be able to finish in there as well. A lot of people having hype for that against Stockman, but we'll see what we get in it. The hard thing here for Sergey is that he's coming in against the motherfucking killer and Khabilov. And Khabilov wouldn't even had to take this fight if he didn't come in against another PMP favorite, Diego Ferreira, which we've been telling you. I made money on Ferreira on a PMP after this fight and saying, hey, Rustam's getting a little bit older. It's going to be a bit tougher. He isn't.
Well, not just that. Diego is, everybody's sleeping on Diego.
Everyone's sleeping.
I almost see in him when we used to be the only people talking about Cheeto. That's how I see Diego. Like, he's going to sneak up, and then he's going to be one of your favorites, too, because he never has a boring fight.
Absolutely in there, but Rustam Khabilov comes in with tons of wrestling, heavy over right hand. He's been over at Jackson Wink forever, being around the States. I mean, great game plans, great gas tank. He just got outworked flat out by Diego Ferreira, and it takes those top 5 type level cardios and game plans to do that. I don't see Sergey being there on any level. There's a reason he's a favorite here. I'm actually surprised that Nurmagomedov is such a favorite and Rustam isn't here at minus 170. I could easily see him being that minus 250 with just the credential of killers he's been in there against and being able to beat. He's a little low on the output, is Khabilov, but I just don't see this. I don't see Sergey winning anywhere. Give me Khabilov submission because I think I think Khabilov is going to make a statement because he's like, I just lost. I got to get in here and get this guy out of here. Because if he gets a decision, he's only going to move one step up. Where if he gets a submission, okay, get another name in here. But coming off of a 2-fight losing streak winner from whatever. Give me Khabilov submission round number 2. Who do you have and why?
I have Khabilov decision. If you're from Jackson Wink and your name's not John Jones, you ain't finishing any fight. You just go to decision and you win point fights, and that's kind of what he does. He just doesn't stand on his feet and do it Holly Holm style. He takes it down and does slow, tedious grinds. I do think he can pull it out everywhere. I almost think this is a gimme in a way. Sergey's kind of, like you're saying, very underwhelming. Rustam Khabilov. Give me the fighter. I think he's just going to be low scoring, though, even though I have him to win by decision. And I think a 30-27 decision every round. And anyone that's doubting him right now, the only reason the line's so close is because people are sleeping on Diego and how good he is. That's what I think.
So, are you saying the line could be a little more spread out?
Yeah, I think it should be. Like you were saying, everything you said, I agree with.
So, on DraftKings, you're going to get the minus 170 favorite, 8,700 for Khabilov against Kondusko, 7,600. He is
Russia.
plus 140 underdog. It's Khabilov or nobody, right? It's only Khabilov as far as DraftKings. But I'm not going to be too exposed, maybe 10%, because as you're saying, low output. Yeah. Low output DK line on that one. Then we move on to 205 pounds, where you have returning Magomed Ankalaev coming in against Dachlia.
And this is the
main event.
Yeah.
The prelim headlining main event. These guys are going to be profiled on your Fight Pass. Check your local listings. But they get that main card started. Well, they're the predecessors to that main card. So, Logiambula coming in with a 10-1 record. The judoka comes in from the Republic of Congo, being on that African scene. He last came in against Daquan Townshed and knocked him out left cross. But Townshed was a short notice replacement. I think a week and a half. Didn't really look like he should have been there. Dachlia in here being 34 years old. As muscled as it gets. He is 5'10". It's more like 5'9" in there, but he is rock solid. Have you been seeing those videos on Twitter where it's these like really muscle-bound guys running into like a McDonald's and kicking the food out of guys and being like, You're off your diet. That's what Logiambula looks like to me. Just a bodybuilder that's just like worries more about getting his muscles bigger than fighting. But he does have skills. The judoka has fun tricks. He'll trip on the outside, hip toss, Japanese whizzer in there. He has power in his strikes. The thing with Logiambula here is his gas tank isn't all that good. His gas tank is shown, even though he's gone to 5 rounds twice, even finished a couple in the 4th round. After that 3rd round, it's holding on. He'll throw flurries in there, but it's like Derek Lewis where he's like, all right, I'm going to wait a whole 3 minutes, and then I'm going to burst for 10 seconds, and then I'm going to wait for the next 2 minutes to be over. So there's always power with Dachlia, but against Ankalaev, who has the gas tank, has the strike regiment, the takedown defense, and the strike acumen, it's just too many checks for him other than the flat-out power, which Ankalaev have shown a good chin in there. The only way I see you really beating the level of fighter of Ankalaev is a decision or a flash KO, a flash submission like Paul Craig did. But ever since that Paul Craig finish, Ankalaev has put together a 2-fight winning streak and looked like a man on a mission, realizing what he has to do in there. And I think he runs over Dachlia after that first round. It could be a 10-8 or 10-9 round, that first round for champion in there, but soon thereafter it turns into all Ankalaev. I give the next 2 rounds, if not all 3, to Ankalaev. Give me a decision. Depending on what I hear as the week goes on in the weigh-in, could be a 3rd round finish for Ankalaev just because that gas tank is not good for Dachlia in my eyes. Who do you have and why?
I feel like I've never even seen that gas tank. I have Ankalaev purely by experience in the UFC, even at and age. I like his trajectory in the division as well. So give me Ankalaev here. I have a decision. I don't have a finish. If I do see a finish potential, maybe something like a ground and pound. I just don't see it happening on the feet. I think Dalcha is going to be one of those guys that is just hard to put to sleep. He's from the Congo, people. He might be the only fighter from the Congo on the planet.
Other than Czech Congo.
Except all the people from the Congo probably look like him. If we probably went in there, we'd be like, oh my God, they're all fighters. He's not the only fighter. Like, his mom probably looks like Ngannou.
Sounds like a beautiful woman.
Yeah, so I have Ankalaev decision. And before, oh wait, you have to break down the DK card.
The DK, minus 300 for Ankalaev on DraftKings. You're going to end up paying $9,400. The most high-priced fighter on the night against Dachlia's $6,800 plus 230. I'm going to say Ankalaev. I'm going probably in that 20%, but I'm going to put Dachlia in a couple spots. I feel like he can get that one and done. It's not a linchpin. I'm telling you, it's like 5% of my cards, but he is going to be hedged in a couple little spots just because he has that type of power. He has that type of power, and he could be that type of fighter that's like, I'm going to lose if it goes past the second. Let's try in the first because I got nothing to lose. So it's an uphill battle here. Interesting fight to kick off the main card.
But before we get in there, like we always tell you to do, make sure you're liking and subscribing. So if you want to follow E, you can do that at Zoltanite on Twitter. And if you want to follow me, you can do that at WeakNeckBaby. Make sure you're always liking and subscribing to LATB_MMA. And you can also find us at LATB_MMA on Instagram. And back to the breakdown.
Back to the Fight Picks Championships. You know we're coming for you. You know the heat's been turning on. We've been setting our traps. That's all I would say if I were you, Cheney. I'd be like, I'll let you win that one.
I'm the type of fighter, I come on strong in the first, and then I might shit the bed in the second. I'm just catching my breath.
You're taking a round off. You're taking a round off.
I don't have that cardio. I don't have that buddy type cardio where I'm going to stay up all the way.
I'm in that Jorge Masvidal. I'm just picking. I'm just hitting you with the same level, same speed the whole time.
That's not Jorge at all.
That is it. All right. Who's in the middle? Zach Cummings.
No, you got to bring it home for us. No pressure. Zach Cummings. No. Who's just coming on? You're like
Barbarina.
Like a solid, like a Max Holloway.
Solid,
doing the damn thing. Blessed era, Zach Cummings. Just called. That's a worse put down than Megan Anderson.
Not at all.
I totally think so.
No way. Megan Anderson is such
I bet you one. We look up Megan Anderson has like 500,000 more followers than Zach Cummings.
I guarantee that, but
and it's not because she's a lady, just because Zach Cummings. I bet you most hardcores are like, who is Zach Cummings? Killer B? No,
the one that looks like him.
Did you see
Pat Cummings' cousin?
Platinum Mike Perry has a fight with
I did see that announcement.
Somebody that I was really underwhelmed because Mike Perry's one of those dudes that I feel like is name value enough that you can put him up against.
Who was it? I did see that announcement.
I feel like it was an African American fellow. I'll look it up while we
Interesting.
move on to the main card.
Into the main card, we're going to have a debuter start off the main card with Shamil Guzmatov coming in against Klidson Abreu. Shamil being a perfect 13-0, having a bunch of PFL experience as well in there, having some World Series, ABC wins, going against at-level competition. Definitely looking good as well. Watching the tape on this 29-year-old. He has good right hand, good cardio, good grappling in general. I believe he does have a bit of a Sandow background or Sambo background. This is definitely right at the level he's been fighting with the PFL guys, with this low level of UFC competition at 185. Abreu being 15-3, coming off of a win, losing his debut to Sam Alvey in a decision. No, he won against Sam Alvey in a decision, but he lost to Ankalaev in a decision. 1-1 in the UFC. Abreu being a slight favorite, I believe, against Sam Alvey, showing he has a chin because Alvey always has that power, but just really showing you that he kind of likes to dirty box with you, does Abreu. He's got good punch combination, good body shots in there, just not tons of power, doesn't really take you down on the ground. He is going to be the better jiu-jitsu guy, but coming in against Shamil, a Russian fighter in Russia, you're more than likely not going to be able to submit him by any means whatsoever. And just the output for Abreu tends to be a little bit lower. I feel like Shamil here is just going to be able to overwhelm him with volume and at-distance strikes. Abreu's not going to be able to get it to the ground if he ever needs to, so I think that the debuter kind of dictates where this fight goes. Also being the local favorite, I just see that if it was even close, the judges are more than likely going to give it to him. So for any of these against Russian opponents, any of these Americans or foreigners going over, if you're not going to finish them, it's going to be hard for me to pick you, but it can be done. Give me the debuter, Shamil, as the favorite here against Abreu in a decision. Who do you have and why?
Me too, but it's more so that I just don't really like Abreu. So I'm going to go with the Russian. He's a favorite for a reason, and I almost... since Abreu's been in, I just feel like he's been there as like, here's a chew toy and then throw him at the dogs. Gazmatov decision. I think it's going to be a night of Russian decisions.
I could definitely see that. Minus 220.
And I did find that fight.
Who was it?
Jeff Neal.
Oh, that's why, because I'm like, that's too dangerous of a fight for too low ranked of an opponent.
Yeah, it's a weird fight for Mike Perry to have taken.
Not a beneficial fight for him, but definitely one I'm going to be watching. On DraftKings, minus 205, you're going to pay for Shamil, the debuter, 8,900 against returning Klidson Abreu, 7,300 plus 165. Klidson is a little bit of a live spot. Actually, not so much. I'm going to probably stay away from this at 8-9. He has to finish. And I don't necessarily think that that's an easy decision.
Low output, I mean, yeah.
I agree. So I'm going to probably, if there's any, it's Shamil and it's like 10%, but I'm going to probably stick away from that.
But this whole fight card I would suggest to stay away from.
I agree.
After the BMF of last week, and it's almost like anyone I see people bitching about, like, this isn't a good card. Well, you know what? It's not supposed to be. They're all not going to be UFC 244. We got to take up and downs, and this is definitely a valley. Just be sure when they come on at 3 o'clock in the morning, 11 a.m., they're probably not going to be stacked, everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But this is where we eventually get enough highlight reels. We're like, oh, I remember not watching that at 4 a.m. Or like us, drinking the coffee because I don't miss them. I don't miss them. Doesn't matter the time.
I'm excited about it.
And I don't miss them.
So is my wife and your girl when we wake up shot out of it. Like, fights are done. And they're like, what? We get to hang out tonight? We get to go out? We get to have a delicious meal or do something? Take me salsa dancing?
All sorts of good stuff when we get
happened.
These. So, definitely for 8,900 for Shamil, be tentative as far as DraftKings. on to a profile fight at 170 pounds. We have Anthony Rocco Martin coming in against Razan Emeev. Emeev coming in with an 18-3 record, winning in the UFC, only having multiple fights, 4 in a row in the UFC, beating Alberto Mida, Sam Alvey, Stefan as of late in there a year ago, and we haven't seen much from him from the 32-year-old. He likes to wrestle, has a wrestling-centric game plan, all right strikes, but really likes to throw a 2-punch combination to get right into those legs and keep on wrestling with you. He's more of a position over submission guy. That's throughout his career. He likes to ground and pound once he gets on top, and definitely has a serviceable gas tank. I've seen him go in 5-round fights and look tired afterwards, but his opponents just look absolutely spent in there, and that's because he is dominating the position most of the time in there. But against Rocco Martin, the D1 wrestler, 16-5, he came off of a huge winning streak, being 4 in a row, only finally losing to Damian Maia, a ever contender. He wasn't submitted, which can be, is
That's
a badge
the Jorge
on itself.
Masvidal game. He didn't win either, but right? Jorge didn't win, but he didn't get submitted.
But he didn't get
set
submitted.
up the game plan.
And it was a majority decision, which means Rocco Martin won one of those scorecards. Tried to put a game plan like most of his other training partners, Colby Covington in there, tried to keep the wrestling, tried to keep it striking. Rocco has good strikes. He's really starting to implement those leg kicks much, much better into his game plan. And on the ground, Rocco is more than serviceable. He's definitely proven as of late. And as the same with Masvidal, after we saw him lose the way he did to Masvidal, it only puts more stock in it because I'm like, Rocco Martin just learned a really big lesson in here, and he's going to learn things because the only way you can get that knowledge is by doing it, and he did it. He just went 3 rounds with Damian Maia, and it's like, I picked up things that I can do in other fights because of fighting with that guy. So I had Rocco Martin in that Damian Maia fight. I thought he could keep it where he wanted to. He should have had the better gas tank, but he just got overwhelmed with the position. There is an avenue here for Emeev to do that, but I do think that Rocco can end up on top. Even though I just said, if you're a foreigner, you have to get a finish in order to win, or they're going to give it to the other guy. I think Rocco wins 2 of these rounds, if not 30-27. I think Rocco can keep his game plan going, keep his cardio. Love the ATT camp. I love everything I've been seeing from Rocco. He's been an underdog for a while for me, and there's a lot of reasons why. Give me Rocco Martin decision. Could move it up to a finish, but I'm going to just stay decision right now. Give me the underdog plus 140, also known as the PMP. If you're following me at Zoltanite, you're already going to see that plus money bet on there. So you're welcome, because I think the line's going to actually shrink. I think it's going to get closer together.
Does it bother you at all? Is he coming down from 185 to 170?
I'm not sure. I thought he might have had some 85 fights in there, but he's been out for over a year. Yeah, he fought Alvey, I feel like, at 85, but I couldn't find out why he'd been out, if it was an injury or he just cut.
Yeah, this is making me really curious. This is one I definitely want to see him weigh-ins for because of the avenue that we just saw Maia beat. I love Rocco Martin. I think he's forever an underdog. But because of the recent Damian Maia fight, I think the same thing could happen with somebody who's a strong wrestler. Even though Rocco Martin seems to have that, I just it makes me tentative that he's going to try so hard to stay off the ground that he's not going to be putting his game plan together on the feet enough, and it cost him in the same kind of decision way. I have Rocco Martin decision here, but the weigh-ins matter everything to me because of how Emeev coming down. I want to see the size discrepancy, but so far, we are kind of biased with Rocco Martin. We tend to go for him. He's like he's the better version of James Vick. Like he's like I started liking both guys around the same time and kind of watched their trajectory in the same way. And somewhere Vick's mouth shot him into a place he wasn't ready for, and Rocco Martin's just kind of been a wet match. Like he can't get a fire started. So maybe this would be it, but after travel against somebody who I'm feeling like they want to build up in Emeev in Russia, and the dirty commission and everything, if it does go to decision, I think it could be a robbery. It makes me like a real nervous fight. I totally have Martin decision. I agree with you. I don't think I'll go heavy on it. I don't think he won't be my linchpin. He won't be, but I will have him on a few, but I could see myself having MEF too. I think he could eke out that decision. Is it going to be low scoring? Slow scoring as well too. Low and slow.
I think it could be a little bit because it could, to me, I see it being a bit of a grapple fest. Striking wise, 5-inch reach advantage for Rocco Martin in here. He only has 1 inch in height, but 5. And I think his hands have been getting good enough. I don't think I'm going to expose myself too much to Emeev at 8,400 minus 160 favorite against the underdog plus 135.
Oh, I got one.
7,800.
All Boston, no Boston.
I like that. I like it a lot. I like it a lot, especially as my picks keep on coming down. You're going to see why I like it so much. So that is going to be an interesting fight. Oh, if it wasn't in Russia, I'd be like, well, it's already my PMP, so I got Rocco, so I'm all in. I'm fucking in.
You
I'm
already
in. Let's
tweeted
go.
it out.
Let's go. Clap him back, Rocco Martin.
I know, but because you tweeted it out, let's be real. Everybody from the Fight Pick Championships has Rocco
It's
Martin. Sometimes I feel like, glad you followed me right off the cliff.
Works both ways. So then we move on to a 205-pound bout where we have Ed Herman coming against the debuting Hadis Imbugamov, the 8-1 fighter, debuted in the UFC and lost to Du Young Jung as a favorite 2 months ago via submission. I believe it was in China. The M1 standout at 24 comes with a ton of heat. Showed his greenness. Showed that if he can't get you out of there in that first round and he starts to gas, his gas tank ain't shit. At 24 years old, he learned a really big lesson against another up-and-coming guy there. It was really a slap in the face for this young man here. And Ed Herman has that type of veteranship. Ed Herman is 23-14, been around as long as anybody in there. Coming off of a big win, TKO to Pat Cummings. Before that, having a 3-fight losing streak to Gian Vellante, Nikola Krylov, and who else did he lose in there too? The fact that he lost to Gian Vellante at all is should be a red light. This guy might not be the best to be betting on, but
it was
Ed
a split
Herman,
decision.
It doesn't matter. The fact that you made it that close with Gian Vellante is horrible. So Ed Herman's really been slowing down at 39 years old. The 205er still has tons of power in his right hand. Serviceable wrestling. Good takedown defense. It's been his best attribute is that Ed Herman is able to keep it where he wants to, where it's usually striking because he can land with power. Short fuse is called that because he can crack when he needs to in there. But Ed Herman is just the chin. It's not there anymore. He gets hurt with half-ass shots in there, and against a young fighter who is willing to eat a shot right now, it could get him in trouble because Ed Herman has the type of power to just back up and land that killer blow and then land that ground and pound. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think the young man tries to get back on the winning streak, and he realizes, like most of us do, if you just blitz Ed Herman, something's going to eventually catch, and it's going to hurt him enough that you can rally and eventually get the ref out of here, especially if the ref's like, Russian fighter's winning. Oh, that's a stop. Okay, that'll be early. It don't matter. Give me round 1 TKO for the returning first loss ever in the young man, the 24-year-old Kadil Igmabarov Hadis. TKO round number 1. Who do you have and why?
I have Ed Herman decision. I just think the cardio is going to pay off, the veteranship, and let me get it. Ibragimov is kind of a never was for me. Don Jung. What? Who? So Ed Herman, he's losing to guys. I understand he went to split decision with Gian Vellante, but I can't think that Ibragimov could do that. I think Gian Vellante would actually win that decision as well. Ed Herman's not really chinny to me. The high kick that he ate almost 4 years ago, I can't put that on for him. He looked good in his last fight against Pat Cummings to me. He handled it everywhere, and I kind of think the same thing's going to happen with Ibragimov. Ed Herman's one of those guys that kind of ruins a fight card. Everyone's like, oh, well, we didn't see him winning, so give me Herman decision. I could see it being robbed from him the same way. He's not a really exciting fighter. He doesn't have a lot of output. This is not the rack I hang my Fight Pick Championship coats on, or even in my DraftKings, but I guess I'm going Herman decision.
Right. It was interesting to me that this is on the main card.
Yeah,
and it's like there's so many
weird.
other fights that have better fights that we could pull from instead of this returning young man here. And Gabrimov, 8,700 for the 24-year-old, minus 200 against Ed Shortfuse Herman, 7,500. Are you going to be playing him heavy on DraftKings for the, like you said,
I'm not going crazy on DraftKings, but I feel like because I might be the only person on the planet that has Ed Herman, I could put him on a card or two.
I agree. I think he's volatile in there. Give me 10%. Give me 20%.
You know what my favorite kind of
Cadiz.
cardio is? That Colorado cardio. It really is the best in the UFC.
It's just that Herman's not, at that point at 39 years old, to me, he did look better, but he's looked so bad for so long that...
At least he's looked good in the UFC before, unlike his opponent.
Great point. I totally agree. That's why I'm so surprised he's on the main card.
And at least he's gone against names. Even the guy that submitted Ibrahimov, I think Jean Vellante beats that guy.
The interesting thing with Ibrahimov here is he's coming in on about a week's notice. Initially, it was Antigulov who was fighting Ed Herman. So the young man, essentially stepping in on about a week and a half, being a decided minus 200 favorite. Does that play for or against him?
I think it's totally against him.
I think it's against him too, honestly.
I got Herman decision. You're making me feel better about Herman decision.
Hey, I'm just telling you what I know. So
You're just trying to lead me wrong!
Moving on to 170 pounds, we have Shamil Imadaev coming in against Danny Roberts. Roberts coming in with a 16-5 record off of
Julia
a
Roberts' brother.
streak. That is on his sister side.
Yeah.
That's right. Danny Roberts, Hot Chocolate, coming in with a 2-fight winning streak. Losing streak. Last losing to Pereira. Last losing to Claudio Silva. In a weirdest submission you could ever think of. Then beating Zawada in a split decision. And losing to Taleb head kick. Roberts is one of these guys who has had chin issues. We've said it for a very long time. And 5 months ago, he was knocked out decisively by one of the biggest favorites to just get beat by Christian Connolly in Michel Pereira. It was specifically a stylistic nightmare for him because Roberts can't deal well with guys with power. Roberts, even though he's a striker, his wrestling has gotten way more on point. He's actually shooting great takedowns, has great sprawls, takedown defenses, and a good striker. The biggest thing with Danny Roberts has always been in the third round, he fades hard, and his chin always has been sketchy. Against Mike Perry, the fight that he lost, that he easily won 3 rounds until the last 5 seconds. Roberts is easily winning the round, and the clacker sounds, and Perry just swings, and Roberts is literally diving for his life because he's getting hurt so bad. He just kind of gets hit, gets on wobbly legs, and then he has to hold on. And against Imadaev, he's going to be able to hurt him, and when Roberts just kind of desperately shoots in on the legs to wrestle, Imadaev will be able to get full mount on him and just keep landing that ground and pound. Stylistically, 8-1, only losing his debut to Max Griffin, which Max Griffin is a tough fight. Way tougher fight than people think in there.
Way tougher fight than Danny Roberts.
Way tougher fight. Imadaev went to a majority decision loss and put in a good showing. I think Imadaev has all the tools here. They are in Russia. I actually think that this is going to be a TKO round number 3 just because of the output, just because of the lack of gas tank for Roberts. This is do or die. It's been this way a few times for Roberts. What I hate more than anything is that it's a 2-fight losing streak, and Silva hurt Danny Roberts really badly, and Pereira did as well, where when Pereira hit Roberts, you could see Roberts go, oh, he hit me, and not even try to recover. He was just like, oh, fetal position, fight's over. So I feel like Roberts is starting to realize that he's just like, all right, I know when I'm done. And I think that's a bad lesson for fighters to learn. And I kind of feel like Roberts accepts that to an extent. So give me TKO round number 3. Imadaev. Who do you have and why?
For all the same reasons I have Imadaev, he's actually my linchpin here. I have him to finish round number 2, maybe even 1, but I think it's going to be a nasty elbow right into Danny Roberts' face. And like you say, I don't know if it knocks him out cold. I don't think it's a KO. I think it's a TKO because Danny Roberts got some quit in him. He got a little bit of that quit in him.
I agree, unfortunately, for him.
Even cardio-wise, I see him quit with cardio. I see him quit with submissions. I've seen him, something's...
5 months ago, he was stopped. And we usually about a year before.
And brutally stopped.
Brutally stopped.
Like, it'll be on highlight reels forever kind of stopped. Like, it made everybody think that... Pereira was going to be this hot flash about that's all it was a hot flash.
That is exactly what it was.
Imadaev KO round 2.
So on DraftKings, you're going to end up paying for the minus 225 favorite Zelim Imadaev 8,800 against Danny Roberts plus 175 7,400. I don't see myself putting Roberts anywhere, and under 9,000 for Imadaev. I agree with what you're saying. He's on that almost linchpin level because I feel like he's going to end up probably showing out. And it's that fade on the chin, right? Because that's ideally what we're saying.
And ring IQ and quit and gas tank. It's like Danny Roberts is a whole bunch of things that...
Fades for a reason, but it's a fade more Danny Roberts.
Yes.
Totally.
It doesn't make it... Yeah, I'm not super high on Imadaev just for no reason. It's more of a fade on Danny than high on Imadaev. But a little high on Imadaev.
Agreed.
It's like skunk... Like... Little high.
There's a little bit left.
I'm going to say real quick, welcome all the new YouTube listeners.
Whoop, whoop.
Like that's we're usually such an audio heavy podcast, and I know there's a lot of people refinding us right now because they lost stream. And I can't say it enough. If you know someone that used to listen or still listens, make sure they reconnect their stream because we're still on all those platforms, but they might be on an old LaTB stream. They might be on a Lesbo and the Bean stream. They might be on so old. And now they just need to redo their stream. But YouTube, I think the TV and taking a little bit of more time and maybe us being a little more animated or what have you. But we're getting our little subscribers up.
Get on that clean stream, if you know what I mean.
Clean stream.
So make sure you're liking and subscribing. And if your friends don't know, maybe you let them know. Maybe you let them know. Do that for us.
Tell somebody.
So thanks for the support out there. We have been seeing it online. It's all coming to fruition. It's getting better. We're all moving forward towards a better. One that might be better for a co-main event. At heavyweight, 265 pounds, we have returning Alexander Volkov coming in against short notice replacement Greg Hardy in Hailgate 2019. Only a few months ago did a few weeks ago, did Greg Hardy win 2 weeks ago against Ben Sassoli, which was overturned to a no contest because the commission doesn't know what the hell they're doing. So it was bad on them. But prior to that, he had a 2-fight winning streak, losing only to Alan Crowder ever with a 5-1 record. Greg Hardy's been an American top team. He showed in that Sassoli fight, which I think is really good and well and telling, is that he can go 3 rounds. Even though he used an inhaler, I think he could have gone without the inhaler and still won that fight. But it's just stupid.
If you were my corner and you asked the commission and they said, yeah, she could use it, why wouldn't you give it to me?
It's the commission's fault, and they shouldn't have retroactively taken it away.
I totally agree.
They just make a rule next time. Again, it's the commission's fault, not these fighters, because it's their job to try all the boundaries. It's your job to know the fucking rules.
Agreed.
So, with Greg Hardy, he showed he can go a solid 3. Didn't take any damage against the Combat Wombat in there. Showing that distance striking. Not too many takedowns. What I really liked is that he didn't gas out. This is going to be a 3-rounder. Volkov was training for a 5. Volkov is coming off of one of the biggest finishes against him in his life, where he set a record for most strikes landed in a loss ever. He was 30-26ing Derek Lewis, and I feel like in that breakdown that we had back in the day, I remember saying, Derek Lewis has this type of power. I'm picking Volkov. He's better, but worry about that power. And he threw a intercepting knee with 10 seconds left, and the Black Beast just landed that right. But don't get it twisted. Volkov is still one of the best heavyweight. Volkov, sorry. Is still one of the best strikers at heavyweight in the game in general. He's been around for a very, very long time. Great jab. At distance, has better kicks everywhere. He's just a better all-the-way fighter We don't have to worry about the ground game much at all. I think if there's any fighter that actually shoots a takedown, it's probably Greg Hardy. But I think he shoots it because he starts getting picked apart by Volkov. Because he keeps eating shots, eating these intercepting knees. I want to pick Greg Hardy, honestly, because I feel like if Derek Lewis can knock you out, Greg Hardy can as well. But I feel like Volkov learns from that last one, realizes that he needs to just stay at distance, and by far the better MMA fighter here is Volkov. Give me a decision, Volkov here. I don't know even why I want to pick Greg Hardy. I hate him.
Same.
But I feel like he has that knockout potential.
And doesn't the energy feel off with this?
Yes.
Doesn't it feel like never do we see a fighter that's 99% of the people pick it? Something always goes amiss.
I agree.
There's something off with this. I don't like that Greg Hardy wanted this fight. I don't like that he wanted it on short notice. I feel like he saw something in the
his
way.
Camp.
Yes, something's up with this fight. And I shouldn't, right when they said it was happening, I'm like, finally, a real fight for Greg Hardy. Volkov picks him apart everywhere. Easy decision. Maybe even a knockout. Can't wait to watch this motherfucker get hurt. And then the more I sat on it, I'm like, something's off with this. Greg Hardy's a crazy, regardless of how you feel about him, crazy killer athlete.
Yep.
I think he is actually probably, if you looked at his trajectory on a written out on paper, his is steeper than anybody else's. He's getting so much better every fight, what we're seeing him put together. He had leg kicks last time. We're seeing him trying takedowns. He's putting together better combos. I just think if he can keep that power, then Volkov can get knocked out. I don't know who was Volkov. He was training for everything, even about the fight he was training for. He should be ready for this because Dos Santos has some of maybe the best boxing in the 260, maybe heavyweight division, or up there, top 3 boxers in the heavyweight. So you got to think Volkov was ready for this. I don't like the weirdness of Greg Hardy saying that he wanted this fight. He's never going to win a decision. It's a knockout only. I have a Greg Hardy because of the 3-round fight. I'm going to put, I think, a round 1 knockout. Fuck. What a weird fucking thing. It makes me irritated. I want to flip this table.
I totally agree. And I've been going back and forth.
It's a Volkov decision clean. 30-26, 30-27. Right. Or Greg Hardy clips him in the...
And it's over. Yeah, it's a Derek Lewis or an Anderson.
I don't even like how active we've seen Greg Hardy. He's had 5 fights in the time since we've seen Volkov last time.
You don't like the activeness for Volkov. You like it for Hardy.
Yeah, totally. But I don't like how active. I feel
agree.
like Greg Hardy's probably taken more fights than most fighters in the UFC this year against a guy we haven't seen in a year. That's nerve-wracking.
But with that, we usually like guys off of knockouts to
take that kind of
time off, which I really like as well. But he did have an injury because Volkov was going to come back in April, and he ended up taking another 8 months off after that. I didn't.
Would you have had JDS or Volkov?
JDS.
I had JDS too. I don't know why Volkov, like the Stefan Struve beats. I'm just like, okay.
Doesn't JDS work with Top Team and has for a while?
Yeah, and
who is Greg Hardy? I'm just saying. So
you are so right.
So the camp is like, oh, we got another heavyweight because we understand a 1-2 is what lands on this motherfucker, on this big ass Russian motherfucker.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Greg Hardy.
I
got Greg Hardy right now.
What I'm gonna
round
do,
1, I could switch it to round 2. God.
On DraftKings, you're gonna pay for the -280, almost 3-1 favorite Volkov, 9,200 against Greg Hardy, 7,000 plus 220. I'm actually going to go 20% Greg Hardy, 10% Volkov. Greg Hardy's the play here. As far as DraftKings, Volkov has to finish to pay off 9,000.
And
no
my
way
common
fans or
sense
buts.
could 100% happen before game time, where I usually switch it to Volkov, and I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Sure.
But something's off with the energy on this one, you guys. I don't know how to.
We gotta watch weigh-ins.
Like spidey senses or something. Like something is just telling me there's going to be a lot of pissed off Russians after, and Greg Hardy's going to do some nasty shit afterward. He's going to say stuff on the mic we hate. Everything's going to be weird. We're going to hate him even that much more. Yeah. Weird.
It is a very weird fight. I'm going to have exposure to both guys. More on Hardy because he's going to allow me to play so many other
Anyone. I don't see him getting finished. That's another weird thing, too. He's going against a guy like Volkov, and I don't see him getting finished.
So it'll be a decision. He'll maybe get 30, 40, 60 points, and Volkov...
I would have Greg Hardy to beat Stefan Struve.
Oh, that's an easy one.
And Verdum was literally his last fight before he retired. Or before he was let go? Was it?
No, I think he retired on his own. I'm not 100%
Something
sure.
bad.
Yeah,
So it's
something
just like,
weird.
ah!
So, very, very interesting co-main event. It's definitely
I
got
love it. It's a
hesitation
good
all
fight.
over it. As far as DraftKings overall, you said it a bit earlier. I think it's so spot on. After that big pay-per-view, a bunch of money we spent on that. I think this one, DK-wise, I'm going to take a step back a little bit. I'm going to play, but it's not going to be my heaviest duty of cards. I'm going to probably go with like 20 lineups at the most in there. But it's just one to sit back, watch, wait for another pay-per-view that we got enough.
Maybe just have fun with parlays, like putting weird parlays together with Greg Hardy, or weird parlays together
All Boston,
with,
no Boston?
all Boston, no Boston, or even if you take the Puesta and mix it in with things. I think taking the Puesta and mixing it with Greg Hardy probably gets you plus 500. I don't know. I think there's fun stuff to do with it. Maybe not DraftKings.
It's going to be an interesting card, a tough one to read all the way around, which is usually good because it means that they're fun fights. It means they're close.
I know,
all the
what
way
a
around.
perfect main event for that kind of card.
What a close one at featherweight, 145 pounds. It was rescheduled from Boston all the way to Russia. It was moved up from Volkov. Hardy, they're like, fuck you, Hardy. We don't need you, Hardy. We're going to take Zabit, Zabist in there against Calvin Kattar or Kattar. How do they pronounce it?
I liked it when if you say it's separate, it's Qatar, but Calvin Kattar sounds better together than Calvin Kattar.
So
I have no answer for you, is what I'm saying.
Kattar being 20-3, coming off of a 2-fight winning streak, knocking out Ricardo Lamas in a knockout of the year, also finishing Shane Burgos in there via TKO, only losing to, who did he lose in there? Moicano in a decision where he got pieced apart, beating Andre Fili. Kattar comes in with great boxing, great gas tank, D1 wrestling, if not Jutko level, but shown his takedown defense has definitely been on point in the UFC. The trouble we had with him for a little while, Kattar, was that he was a manager and owning his own gym. Since his 2-fight winning streak, he hasn't been a manager, and he went to a different camp because he realized, like, hey, I'm fighting in the UFC. I need to really focus on just this, and that's been a good step for him. He's definitely honing in his skills. His boxing is just so crisp. Burgos, he pieced up Burgos, and Burgos is crisp in there. That should just tell you the level of Kattar, where he's at. I think a lot of people look at that Ricardo Lamas fight, who isn't a walkthrough. He walked through them pretty quickly in there. Kattar lands with power, and this fight has some interesting traps set up in it. Zabit, the doggy fighter, coming in with a 17-1 record, only lost a decision ever, last beating Jeremy Stevens, beating Kyle Bochniak, beating who else in there? Brandon Davis, Soliev, Stretch, Sergio Moraes. Zabist has been somebody that people have been ducking. Yair will not fight him anywhere. No matter where you are, Yair has definitely been ducking this fighter for a long time. Zabit comes in with all that spinning shit. He kicks to the body, spins to the body with both ways. He's coming out of that doggy monk style of training that Molly Wap did a great piece on. He can go 3 rounds, but I've seen him when I went back and watched tape. Zabit's worst round is his 3rd round. And in that Bochniak fight, you can see, why do you think Bochniak yelled at his face, hands down, and was like, hit me? Because he's like, oh, Zabit gassed now. Zabit point fights his 3rd rounds. It's the ones he takes off. He likes to win the first 2, take off the 3rd round. And here's Zabit. Zabist can't choose to where he wants to. That's the thing he usually has. He's usually the better striker, and if he ever wants to get it to the ground, he can usually get it there. I feel like Kattar's wrestling is by far better, not better, but good enough to keep it where he wants it. He has great takedown defense, so I feel like the ground game is going to be nullified, and this turns into a doggy striker versus more of an American boxer. And I think Kattar's kicks play a role into here, but his crisp down the pipe striking actually, I think, hurt the Beast a bit more, and I think he starts to get a little gun shy in there and loses 29-28. This is a 3-rounder, should have been 5, but both of these guys said they couldn't. UFC was like, okay, we'll allow it to be 3. I actually think this plays better for Zabist because he does tend to gas in that 3rd round, where I feel like Kattar has proven that he can go a solid 3, and it just looks like he's more on point to go 4 with his style. Zabist, that spinning stuff is cool, but it wears on you. It does wear on you. And I think Kattar can give up that first round, win the next two, if not potentially finish later in the fights. I think Kattar's hands hurt him more than people think. Give me Calvin Kattar in a decision.
Wow.
Big underdog. A lot of people don't see this coming. I think Kattar dictates where this fight goes. And I think he's a better striker, specifically boxer. But the more kicks go to Zabit, but the more power goes to Kattar. And I think that eventually that makes Zabit very gun-shy in there. And I don't think Zabit even knocks him out because he doesn't have knockout power. He more overwhelms you. So give me a humongous underdog, plus 235 in the main event. Who do you have and why?
Do you think Zabit looks like the hormone monster?
Just a little bit. But it could be my hormones talking to me.
They got you going. They got you going. Did mine all just erase? Did I just shut this and they all erased? Whew! I was going to be so upset. I like everything you're saying. No one should sleep on Kattar at all. The one thing that I don't like is Moicano was kind of a hype train that I never got on, and then now it's played out, and I'm like, okay, not that anything's wrong with Moicano. He's still a hot young prospect and everything, but a guy that long seems to get inside on Kattar. Zabit is a guy that long, and Kattar does have great wrestling, but I don't think it's nearly as good as Zabit's. And I think the reason that you're seeing a third round takeoff, that third round, which he wins, by the way, every time, and that's him taking off, is just that the output's not 100 strikes in each round. He does 50 because he knows he won that much. I just think Zabit isn't a finisher, but he is a decision fighter and tends to win 30-27. And I kind of have it going that way this time as well. I do think he's the real deal. It's only the 3-round fight. It would have played for me for Calvin Kattar if it was 5 rounds. I would have been more likely to have him kind of exactly like Jeremy Stevens with Yair. Like that would have been smarter for. So since this has changed, or since it isn't changed and it's still 3 rounds, I'm going to stay with my original pick on this, and I'm going to go with Zabit. I think he's the real deal. I think he is a hype train you can jump on. And I think don't sleep on Calvin Kattar in the future just because it's this. I do think he's going to make him pay. I think Zabit's going to get hurt more than we've ever seen him get hurt. But I think Calvin Kattar's boxing, it's got to be on point with Jeremy Stevens, and I don't think its power is as much as Jeremy Stevens. So I think he's going to have the power a little longer in the fight, but it's never going to be quite the power discrepancy between Steven and Zabit that we saw. So give me Zabit by decision along with everybody else.
Other than me, at Zol tonight, at Weakneck Baby. You know you can be following us at LaTB_MMA. It's been heavy duty. Thank you,
just have to throw
for
that
joining
in one
us.
more time.
Throwing it out there. It was heavy duty. This was a long one. This was a fun one. It's going to be a fun morning in Moscow. I'm going to have a little Moscow Mule ready.
That's what I think. We drink Moscow Mules. That we have our coffee and then noon Moscow Mules. And I think if we tell the girls, they'll be way down with that.
Sounds like a plan.
Moscow Mules at noon, everyone. And we'll watch Zabit beat that Kattar ass. That's all I have to say about that.
Let me